I forgot. I get myself a 5-second delay. There it goes. Oh wait, and I had to hit the Twitter. Oh yeah, you've heard this. You've heard the music, haven't you?
I told KG this song was trapped in my head all day. Like it won't go away.
Now that song, the one that Terrell posted with the dude dancing with Mario and Doofenshmirtz, now that will never go away.
Yeah, I kind of figured as much. Well, now that the Mario trailer is coming out in like a couple weeks,
we're gonna talk about the Mario movie for 2 hours.
We're gonna talk about the Hey, you! What? It's not Mario, but we're gonna have a conversation about it.
Holy shit! We just started the stream and Navy already saying hello with 100 bitty bits, bro.
Oh yeah, Navy be balling. That boy got so much money.
Go.
I think Navy donates every stream. It kind of scares me actually.
Sharing 100 bits is only like what, $1?
Nah, this boy be subbing too. He be giving gift subs.
Although I've been hearing recently about like a Twitch drama going on lately.
Oh, did you see it? Oh, that reminds me. I'm gonna show to you and Tyrone. It's an easy way to catch up with the last week of Twitch drama in like 30 seconds.
Oh, is it that video by any chance of the dude like saying "Welcome to Twitch" or some shit?
I'll show it to you.
Okay, I'm thinking it. I'm thinking it's that. Oh man.
Fuck me.
Yeah, we will obviously not be talking about that tonight because we have utter shenanigans.
No, I was like, we have.
Is it weird that I tweeted? My tweet was literally, "Let's talk about weeb life."
I mean,
I just wrote, "We are back." That's it.
Yeah. No, wait. We or weeb?
Weeb are back.
Weeb.
Oh, you.
And then my title was "So You Liked Anime Back in the Day, huh?" But it's like, you know how Captain America was like, "So you got detention, huh?"
No, I thought you were gonna say. I was gonna say, "Oh, you got no bitches, huh?"
Jimbo.
No bitches, Jimbo.
I hate this man.
But yeah, welcome everybody. We are back. It's been a while. It has been an insane while.
Returned.
Yeah,
it's a combination of my fault, and then it's Tyrone's fault, and then it's Kevin's fault.
Yeah, I made sure to keep it respectful by not doing any tripods.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It's not my fucking fault, guys.
It sounds like you couldn't be bothered, is what it sounds like. We told you could do things, just don't do like the main Pokemon stuff. That's all we.
No, I did do things. I did other things not related to the tripod.
Oh,
he's saying you could have done the tripod. You just chose not to.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I told you. Yeah, there was 1 week when we could have.
You can get TSS and Emmy. That's 3 people.
You had people.
True. There was Emmy. Wow. There was Cosmic, Joker, Drift, Groove.
Was it you? You have a whole fucking
Polly if she decided to show up. Like you had potential options.
I like how the vote of confidence is more into Nessa than it is Polly about showing up. That's a whole sad reality we don't need to talk about.
Truly, we have evolved, man.
Also, we're giving Polly shit for out of love, obviously, but still. Yeah. I thought the joke was just necessary.
Oh yeah, hey Cosmic, yeah, you see the Zorua armies on the stream? It's amazing, isn't it?
How many did you actually get today?
I got here with me in possession 2, with the others coming as well, on their way. I don't know why these two showed up early. Yeah, 8 are coming. Left. I have 2. That's why because I was confused because my mother took the picture and she only sent the picture of 2 of them. And I didn't get into details on it because I was still at work. I got home and then I find out there's only 2 of these guys and the rest of the others are being sent separately. And the fucking thing was in a huge ass box too, which is hilarious to me. Shit was in a huge box and I'm like, oh my god, these plushies must be gigantic.
So for those who don't know, his mother needs to take his wallet away from him because he should not be allowed to spend money on all this frivolous shit.
But also, the Pokemon company should probably not allow me to buy 10. How did they allow me to put 10 in a cart on a
Why would you want to? Is a better question.
I think they knew. I think part of them knew. They were like, bro, is it okay to like bring out this order of Zoruas? And they're like, oh, we know our audience. Like, we know who's gonna die them.
Oh, because Kevin's a whale. I got it. It makes sense now. For those who know that term in gacha games, like that one guy who spends an absurd amount of money, and that's all they care about selling. I mean, buying shit because they only need him.
You know, ever since I lost my game that I can whale on, I've been making a lot more money, and unfortunately, I don't know where to spend it on. So
I hate that worked as well as it did. I hate that it worked as well as it did. I really do. I'm angry. Why did that flow as well as it did? Fuck you, sir.
No, fuck the games for going out of it.
Fuck the game, man.
Leaving me this November.
You don't fucking need it.
I do. I have all these purchases I made, bro. I put over 1,000 on this franchise. Probably more, actually. But I'm not going to count it right now.
Shut the fuck up. How about that? How about we try that?
That's probably the best response. Yeah, shut the fuck up. I think that's
how much
fair.
money have you poured in your franchise, buddy?
Listen.
Which one?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to say, yeah, you got to pick one.
Yeah, but say, do you think we have one addiction? We don't.
Except Samurai.
What do you mean the needle isn't in my arm deep enough? We'll do don't. There it goes.
Deep it goes. Oh, right, shit.
Listen to you weebs talk about your fucking anime purchases.
Tyrone, your mascot's a fucking Dedenne. I don't want to hear shit from you, okay?
Check out his mascot. It's a Dedenne.
I didn't say I wasn't one. I said listen to you weebs talk about it.
Yeah, but see what do you mean you weebs? The fuck?
Yeah, what are you trying to say, buddy?
He's like, you're a weeb, I'm an otaku. There's a difference.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck?
I don't go around the hallways running with my... I don't run around the hallways with my arms behind my back, idiot.
Hey, listen.
Or scream out Kamehameha out in the streets, bro.
Now, listen. So, a lot of you may or may not be in the chat wondering why there's no Dominant Pro this week. Don't worry. I'm trying to delay as much as possible because I don't want to fucking do it. But that's besides the point.
The Dominant Pro is going to be so long, we have to spread it into 10 parts.
I'm waiting for the remake saga to end. That's all I'm waiting for. Anyways, so listen. No, what actually happened was that was probably the initial plan for tonight was to do the DP overview, but I ran across a video on the Tiki of Talks, and it kind of triggered me in more ways than one. And I thought it would be an interesting discussion topic because it's something that almost all of us can relate to, because as you obviously would know, we all indulge in the Japanese animation or manga or video games or every other fucking thing in Japan, because apparently American content is ass. Spoiler, it is. Don't ever get it twisted. Our best shit's either in fucking Japan or it's fucking British. Okay, that's all we got. Anywho, so I kind of wanted to talk about this transition of fandom. Like the anime fandom in the States has technically been going on since like the 80s and 90s, but I would say me, Tyrone, and Kevin kind of hang in that transition generation where it was still like fucking, yeah, you can say French too, Donnie. Jesus Christ. We ain't gotta mention every fucking country that's better than us. Good God.
La weeb.
Yeah, exactly. Pardon my Francais. So I kind of wanted to just talk about this transition between like the generations. Like, if you didn't know, and I'll let you know. Yeah, Donnie, there's ads because you didn't fucking subscribe to the channel.
Terrell, can you stop insulting our audience members? Damn, that's the second one in the past 30 seconds.
Technically,
you can't keep getting away with this.
He said I couldn't get him.
Listen, all I'm saying is this: is that me and Tyrone and Kevin are in that particular age group, and as we've gotten older, because you could tell I'm 31, Kevin and Tyrone are hovering around the 30, and we are now dealing with a new generation of children who are either getting into this stuff or just making it known that it is popular. And the fact that anime in general in the States has become more mainstream, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about the differences between the generations while also bringing up some of the more controversial topics. But I guess we'll start with this. When would you call yourself an avid anime watcher? I'm not talking about the Pokemon phase, and we're not talking about the Toonami phase. I'm talking about when you...
Oh, come on, shit, that's the way it all started.
No, because we always I think we did that on the anime spending video we did.
We did do it on the discussion, but it kind of bounces into this discussion.
So it's kind of redundant. When did you start avidly like getting into shows and watching them online and all that other shit?
Okay, so I'll go first because mine technically wasn't really online. Mine started with DVDs and videotapes, and it's only because my stepdad would get like videotapes from this one store, and that's where we got all the Dragon Ball Z tapes, right? He has pretty much all the Dragon Ball Z episodes on VHS. And that's how we watched it. Technically, I was ahead of Toonami because he would just buy the tapes, and the tapes were ahead of Toonami. And I'm guessing because they got dubbed and imported sooner than they got shown on air. I don't know how distribution works back then. But that's how, and then in addition to buying those Dragon Ball Z tapes, he would also buy other DVDs and VHS tapes of different anime shows. Like some would be movies, like Princess Mononoke and the Studio Ghibli films. Others would be like just random animes, like freaking Shadow Skill. I don't even know if anybody knows what that show is. But he would just buy these random 80s and 90s anime VHS tapes, and I would just watch them. No context, no episode start to finish thing. I would just watch them in the middle of their series, and it kept me entertained, so I just stared at it. I think the first anime I watched that wasn't like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! I think was Tenchi, which is weird. Tenchi, and then I think Sailor Moon followed up. And then after that, I just started picking up on these animes just via watching them from there. I didn't have a name for them yet, though. I didn't know they were called anime. I thought it was just like cartoons. Just some of them would say cuss words, and I'd be like, oh, that's an adult cartoon. But I learned the phrase later, and then it was like finding out a word that you've always wanted to say but never could say it because you didn't know. You'd be like, oh, that's what that is. Yeah, I watch all of that. So yeah, I guess that was around when I was, I want to say 11. Yeah, 10 or 11. It was when I really ended up getting into anime traditionally. And at that point, I was still an avid Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dragon Ball watcher though at that point. So most of my anime representation came from them. But my viewing of anime came from watching all the VHS and DVDs. So that's pretty much where it started.
Kevin?
All right. May you repeat the question again, just in case, buddy?
Essentially, what was your, I guess, your introduction to anime that doesn't include like Toonami or like
the Pokemon? Standard, yeah, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Shit.
Yeah, when did you get into like traditional, just like anime series? Is when you started doing the whole jumping into a show and then it'd be like 13, 26 episodes, you jump into another show, like that shit.
Okay, so I think I remember talking about this. It wasn't until like 2004 or 2005, around that time. Obviously Toonami and the other ones, but the first time I ever went into looking for other anime that is not really well known, hell, it's not even known today. It's an anime that's called Legends. It's Legend with a Z at the end. It's basically something about a bunch of dragons and their adventures throughout the city. That was my first like true jump into starting to break out of my comfort zone and begin trying to look for other anime out there. Legends is, for me at least, a nice show I enjoyed. But yeah, that was really when it began, like around the mid 2000s. I usually just tend to follow Toonami or Kids WB at the time and never really broke out of that comfort zone because, I mean, all of the good shows I've enjoyed were there. However, the moment that Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Had finally reached their conclusions, I began to like question if there was like another form of anime that can fill in those gaps that Saturday cannot, do anymore. And that's how I got introduced to more genres of anime. It was my introduction to learning, another language and subtitles as a whole as well. Because I didn't even know subtitling was a thing for these shows at the time as well. So, yeah.
So, I'm kind of glad you two went first because my story is kind of a weird combination of both of y'all's.
Really?
There was a video store that existed in my area that had shows, but it was very much what I would come to later do, which is like blind buy shit. I blind bought this VHS, and ironically enough, my first two like non-traditional animes were both harem/ecchis. Nice. One of them is absurdly just a straight ecchi. The other one I think is more of a traditional harem anime, which I would say is somewhat similar to like Tenchi, except I would say probably a little bit more fan servicey than that. The first series is called Jungle Dioku, which is I think it's technically just a 3-episode OVA. I think is what it is. And I'll just the quick synopsis that this young girl gets this like ancient necklace from like Africa, and it kind of like turns her into like the goddess of the forest and shit.
Why does this sound familiar?
You've probably seen it.
I think you were the one that introduced it to me.
Yeah, because I actually made a video on my vlog channel about it, about my first ecchi anime experience. It was also like just my first non-traditional anime experience. It's like 3 fucking episodes. There's another one with a rabbit, but I don't ever remember the name consistently, that I also think is an OVA. But the first series I watched, which wasn't that long after it, was a series called Mahabaraho, which is another.
What that host say? I'm just kidding.
Which is another like harem series where like you're in a world full of like magicians and shit that you can use your magic a certain number of times. And the main character can only use it like 7 times, but his magic's like ridiculously stronger than anybody else's. But once you run out of magic, you die. So like, it's 26 episodes, and the premise.
Does the magic reset every time, or is it like he can only use it 7 times
in his life? Whereas most people get like 1,000 or like 200, 1,000.
So basically, he's a one shot every now and then character.
Yeah, but because his magic, because the strength of his magic is so high, it makes him perfect for like breeding, which is why people were trying to get with him.
Got it.
So like that's the premise of the harem. Those are the first shows I watched, and I know Mahabharata was the first one, because if you're an old school fan, you know how you watch a lot of those old school shows. You went on YouTube and you watched the parts that people uploaded.
Yeah,
because remember back in
part 2.
Remember back in the day.
Part 1 of 5, baby.
And yeah, remember you try to look for part 4 and it's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, because it got deleted, and you got to watch it in fucking 320.
Yep. It was that was back when YouTube only let you upload 10-minute videos, so you couldn't upload a 20-minute episode anyway. On top of the copyright that was cracking down everywhere, so like that's how I watched Mahabharata. Jungle Dioku was a VHS tape I owned that I got rid of and then rebought as a DVD years later. I got rid of it because who the fuck you don't want your mom finding an ecchi. It's full. It's one of the few ecchis where I'm like, yeah, this is full blown ecchi. I would. Luckily, I was not. I was a little bit older. It's one of those ones where like most people tell you, oh, you just watch ecchi anime for sexual arousal, and I'm like, no, most of the harems I watch, I don't do that. That was probably the first one that did catch me slipping. That's it. But that was like those were like my first anime experiences, which kind of will date all of us, because no people getting an anime nowadays are starting off. They don't even understand the concept of YouTube only having 10-minute uploads. None of y'all know about that shit. Well, people in our chat might, but like the young people don't know about that shit. So that's kind of how all three of us started. The reason why this is important is because that means our anime watching really started in the early 2000s is a good range for us, I would say. Like 2003, 4, 5, around there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of us were starting our anime addiction probably in our early, like preteens going into early teenagers. I don't even think I found out about like seasonal shows until like I was like almost 18 when I found out that anime had the same kind of seasonal shit that like TV shows in the States did. Like, oh, you gotta wait until next fall and then the new season would start. Like that shit's crazy to me. But it's crazy because if y'all, when you hear about like how we got into shit, how would you say you got into new shows? Was it literally just a rabbit hole of like you start a show and then you see something and you're recommended, or like you would be recommended another show and you start another show, or was it like word of mouth through friends? Like how were you introduced? How did you? I guess how did the roller coaster start, or the waterfall? Yeah, the waterfall is a better way of saying it.
For me, at least. Oh, Taryn, you want to go?
I mean, I can go real briefly. I think one time Naruto was super popular, and I ended up watching that. And I think I talked about it to a friend at school. And then once I finally found someone else watching that type of stuff, because this was around the point where I couldn't openly talk about Pokemon for it without people just looking at me weird. Um, so then I would, when I found somebody that did talk about Naruto, I'm like, oh, you like Naruto? And he lived right by me too. So I would go over his place and we would like watch Naruto or play the video games or stuff. And then he was like, hey, if you like that, here, you'll like this show too. And then he recommended shows to me. And I think that's how I ended up watching other shows as well, was because of his recommendation. So I had that, and this is to go back on, I still had that list of animes that I would watch via VHS and DVDs. But I think this was the first time I started searching for anime now, was because of the recommendations. They'd be like, hey, I watched this one show. Or the library would actually have like DVDs and manga. It would have manga. And I know I'm not a prominent manga reader, but the manga lets you know, oh, okay, if there's a manga of this, then there's more than likely an anime of this. So the library weirdly kind of helped. Just because I think the library didn't give a crap. They would put anything up there.
Yeah, I would see that. I think the problem I always had with the library is the library only picked the mainstream shit. So like,
oh, my library had random shit. Like,
I think even nowadays, even the libraries, like, are you talking about school library? Or are you talking about like the public library?
A public library. It had stuff like hey man, it had stuff like, this is one girl who wants to be like a pop idol or some shit, but she doesn't. She's just an average chick, so she's got to like learn to dress better and sing better and crap. And it had like a manga of that, and I'm like, huh, didn't expect that.
Yeah, I would say, at least for me, most of the shit that I found in my library was like really mainstream shit. Like I would see the Naruto, I would see Bleach, I would see Fruits Basket. I think later on I ended up seeing Soul Eater. It was usually shows that had already caught wind, like in the States for whatever other reason. Like, yeah. Unfortunately, the way it worked for me is that either someone had to be into the know to get that kind of shit to show up like in a public library. But just to kind of go back as far as how I was introduced to new shows, it was kind of friend shit early on. Like the way I got an Outlaw Star is my friend just had the whole fucking series on DVD, and he was like, "Bro, you should check this out." And I remember I binged that shit in like a weekend. Binging anime is something I truly miss doing. It's just that I don't have the time to do it. But God, if you've ever sat down and binged like a good 13 episodes or 26 episode series in like a day or two, that is that whole cold feeling in the night when you fucking finish the show at like 4:00 in the morning and you're like, yeah, I did it, but now you feel empty because the fucking show's over. That's whole
the worst feeling, bro.
It is, but it's like a weird like sense of accomplishment and failure. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It low key is addicting, not gonna lie. I fuck with it to a degree. But the way I got into shows, if it wasn't through like watching YouTube recommendations, my friend would usually either have DVDs or like give. He was the same reason why I got into Kingdom Hearts, because he fucking gave me the first game to play. I never bought the first game. My friend gave that to me, and then I liked it so much I bought the second game when it came out. Nice. But yeah, it was recommendations a lot, and then eventually it became the rabbit hole of you finish a show on YouTube. Like I finished Mahabarajo and immediately saw something called When They Cry, and it would be that fucking thing where they would just show a clip of a fucking scene, and that would be enough to just trigger the rabbit hole. Like When They Cry, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but if you've seen When They Cry, it's the scene where the girl sticks the knife on the wall and then proceeds to ram her head into it repeatedly. I don't give a fuck. What
show is that?
When They Cry, Higurashi.
Wait, that's not the remake you're talking about, right?
No, that's the. I watched the
original.
They're both horrifying, by the way. But
yes. Also, if you want to watch the new one, you're required to watch the old one. I feel.
Pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, because I think it takes like a different direction. The new one.
That's I'd be curious to see.
I'm not gonna spoil it. Yeah. I'll say that.
I need to fucking watch it. But essentially, that's how I got into shows. It was either The Rabbit Hole or Friends. But KG, I'll let you go.
For me, I wasn't much of a communicator with people. I never really interacted a lot. So my imagination was kind of my choice of how I got into certain things. The reason why I went back and talked about Legends a while ago, as that being my opening point, was because at the time I grew up being fascinated by the mythological creatures like dragons. And that was what made me go and be like, is there animes that have dragons in them? And then I looked it up and then find out that yes, there is a show like that called Legends, and I give it a shot. And then I go and look in even further to see, maybe there are other anime out there that exist that have these kind of themes. Like, is there ones with wolves? Is there one with foxes? Or is there one with creatures that I'm interested by? And that's how I would get introduced to some very unique and niche anime that I never really talk about because it's sort of just out there. We never really get the opportunity to talk about those kind of things. But
there's no foxes of Japanese folklore here.
Damn.
Damn it.
Nah, but that's how it also got me introduced into Inuyasha, actually.
I'm sure Inuyasha was people's like fucking water slide into anime.
But wait a minute, did you watch Inuyasha on TV, Kevin?
No. I've seen like the songs, but I've never stuck around watching it.
Really? I ended up watching.
Inuyasha was an Adult Swim requirement.
Yeah.
I never grew up with Inuyasha. In fact, I don't even think I ever completed the whole season. Well, series, I mean.
You staying up till midnight. Because I didn't see
the final season, whatever it was called.
You staying up till midnight, the first thing you hear is dun 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 dun.
I've heard the songs, but that's as far as that goes. Like, I experienced those 4 a.m. song requests, those. Like, that I can absolutely relate to, but I cannot relate when it comes to actually watching the said shows.
You could go 12 o'clock without hearing, go!
So actually you couldn't, or Sit Boy.
Yeah, no. Like the only
I think even Adult Swim made fun of that actually, where they kept having Kagome and Inuyasha. This was during that weird time where Adult Swim just made these weird like before the commercials. Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Fucking that's actually ironic enough. Adult Swim. I ignore Adult Swim because of the redundancy of us bringing it up. But the one thing I'll say, Adult Swim gave me a couple oddballs that are like my absolute favorites now. Like Paranoia Agent is still one of my favorite fucking shows, and it's such a dark psychological horror show that was on Adult Swim, and you couldn't find for decades. That's a whole other thing. But no, I didn't mean to cut you off, KG. Go ahead.
No, but like I said, like learning about the foxes or the dragons or the wolves and just writing that and then adding the word anime in Google search bar, it introduced me to some very unique and niche shows, or even shows that are actually considered popular this day. Like I mentioned before with Inuyasha, but I think another one was like what is it called? X-Holic or something like that?
Oh, X-Holic. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a kitsune there as well. And the reason why I was talking about Inuyasha is because it had Kurama. Not Kurama. What was the Kirara? That's what it was. I think it was.
Yeah, Kirara.
Kilala. Yay!
But, yeah, so I was thinking Kurama is the other
so
fox
cute.
Piece. Yeah, Kirara I love so fucking much. Even the adult form.
Kurama is a kitsune too, so...
We don't bring that up, okay?
And then there was another character. I think it's more recent, though. I still enjoy it. I think it's called... actually, how recent is this one? Kami-sama Kiss, I think is what it was called.
That sounds familiar.
Something about, like, some guy who... he's like... He is a kitsune, basically. A fox familiar. And he lives in this apartment or something like that. I don't remember much because I think this came out like early 2010s. Maybe if I show an image, you might remember. But honestly,
Kevin, when you watch,
Kevin's main interest was is it a Fox bet?
But there was an episode though that completely also got me intrigued too. I'll say that.
When you watch shows like Inuyasha and Yu Yu Hakusho and like Sailor Moon, you even as a kid, your brain starts to connect the dots that like while these shows aren't the same, there's definitely some similarity between them all.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just style and vibe.
Yeah, like they all wind up in like some similar tier. And you definitely always associate, even as a kid, you definitely associated these things outside of the realm of regular cartoons. You'd be like, okay, there's regular cartoons, and then there's these. So I can, no, these, as in like these, like.
Oh, okay.
Again, this was before
we thought there was another word there.
Yeah, I was thinking you missed the word.
This was before you thought of the term anime. As a kid, you just sort of knew, like Inuyasha, Yu Yu Hakusho. These are different than like the cartoons I've been watching. Something about. I think also just the introduction. I know you told me to leave like Dragon Ball and shit out, but having blood like was definitely like a whoa moment for me in Dragon Ball, at least, because I got introduced to Dragon Ball Z when Goku was like in mid-fight with Frieza on Planet Namek. Like,
so people had just died and shit.
So yeah, Goku had like blood on him. I didn't know what a Super Saiyan was, but he was it, whatever the fuck it was.
Super Saiyan.
He had like blood on him, and Frieza's arm and body got cut in like half. It was a lot. It was a lot for me to go from like the harmless Pokemon, or at least as harmless as Pokemon can get, to like these characters are straight up mutilated and bleeding, and Inuyasha cutting up demons in half, and you could see like flesh and bone. It definitely made you go, huh? The world is a lot darker than I originally intended it to be. And Yu Yu Hakusho was like Yusuke's got a potty mouth, like dude's cussing up a storm.
Yeah.
And this really made you go like, wow, is this still a cartoon?
And it is, but it's different.
Kinda.
It's different though.
Yeah.
Well, but I do want to go. KG kind of touched on something that kind of leads into the next part anyway. Yeah. And that when you mentioned how, like me and Tyrone mentioned how sometimes we had friends at school or whatever introduce us to something. You were like, you didn't really talk to people about that, which is a heavy. I hate you, Tyrone. It's a heavy contrast to how things are now. It's crazy to me. We went from like you having one or two people you knew who kind of fuck with this shit versus like an entire, like half the class now at least knows what you're talking about. At least. Hell, on the other half,
even the people who don't like anime know of it now.
Yeah, like it's that commonplace. So I guess if going into the next thing, compared to now where everybody and their grandma is at least aware of it, even if they're not into it. Yeah. How was your childhood and like how does that compare to when we were kids and we were like talking about it in school, or if we were talking about it in school and all, and why we weren't? Because like I feel like a lot of younger people don't understand that like y'all being able to freely be this geeky and open with this shit is very fucking like recent. Like this is not. Like in the last 10 years, kind of recent. Like,
yeah, I was going to say, I want to say about a decade.
Yeah, it's been like a good decade. So like when they were like being born around like late 2008 or 9 is when we were coming out of high school or ending high school.
Yeah.
Which for me, I'll go first on this. I only had maybe like 2 or 3 people I knew who kind of fuck with it or who are openly fucking with it.
Right.
As I got older, I would come to learn more people fuck with it than I originally thought, which gets into another whole thing. But like, it wasn't. Thank you for following, Joiner2468. Sorry,
Joiner. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining. I didn't want to do the pun, but you made me do it. Yeah, you look like a nerd in high school. Thank you, Red Dragon. I appreciate it.
You're a nerd.
But it was a different experience. I don't like, and I'll let KG and Tyrone talk next. But like, for me, you didn't know how to find people with the same interests as you. Like realistically, the internet was still like, we were just now getting to like MySpace. Like that was really kicking up towards the latter half of my high school career. It was like MySpace, and Facebook was just getting started. So like, unless you made yourself known or you just went around asking people about anime questions, like how the fuck would they know? So like my high school, even middle school, it was almost borderline non-existent. I had maybe like 2 friends who knew in middle school, and then that went up to like 3 in high school, and it was just kind of it. That was it. That's who I talked to, and I didn't have family who was into this shit. So like,
yeah,
that's my position.
I mean, both my dad and stepdad, like when I would go to like my mom's house, my stepdad, like I said, he introduced me to it. But then when I would go back to like my dad's house, he already like kind of knew it and would openly watch it. So I had 2 family members that were like kind of for it. I think that kind of helped ease it a little bit. But as far as social environments with friends, yeah, like I said, I had like 1 friend in middle school and another friend who he mostly just liked Naruto. Like he only fucked with Naruto. He didn't fuck with the other shows. Naruto was the only one. And then in high school, I think I found maybe like 3 or 4 more people, but at that point that was about the limit. I didn't see anybody else really talking about it, openly wearing anything that represents it, watching shows about it. I mean, hell, I think one time our art teacher actually showed us Princess Mononoke as a form of like showing us different types of art style. Because the goal of the movie was to show off the Studio Ghibli style of art design and how it works. So when he showed us, I was interested because, again, anime. But like I would see other kids going, "Is this Pokemon? Is this Yu-Gi-Oh?" And I'm just like, you know nothing. You are an idiot.
Idiot. You damn idiot.
Yeah, like it was painful. To me, it was embarrassing just to hear people say, like, I don't know if you guys ever got that, but whenever a non-anime fan would like try to guess what you're watching, it was always this level of like over-rushing embarrassment. Like, no, it's not Pokemon, it's not Yu-Gi-Oh, it's not even Dragon Ball. It's freaking Dead Man Wonderland or some shit, right? Like you have to explain it, and then you shouldn't even say that because once you say that, they're like, "What's that?" Like at this point, we're too far gone. There's no way.
But see, Taro,
your attention span.
Taro, at least you had one that had a normal sounding name from the get go. Like when it happened to me, it'd be like, "What are you watching?" Do ra 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 ra.
Oh, I watched Do ra 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 ra.
And then immediately you have to be like, and they're like, "What the? Are you having a stroke?" I'm like, "No, it's actually like it's a show about what."
Yeah.
And if you watch Dura is like one of the worst shows to like explain to somebody because there's like it's not really a plot that it can be easily explained. It's not like
a book around.
Yeah, and I'm just like it's a city and shit happens with it and people just have different positions in the city and it's just life. And you're just like, that sounds dumb as fuck. And I'm like,
yeah. And why do they even entertain it by asking? Because it's not going to hold their attention.
That's what makes me mad because but go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead.
I was going to say, imagine if isekai anime was a thing back in the day.
Oh,
imagine, like, is that Yu-Gi-Oh? No, this is different. This one is called The World's Finest Assassin Gets Reincarnated in Another World as an Aristocrat.
Yeah, that time I got reincarnated. Yeah, that time I got reincarnated as a toilet seat.
that is an actual good manga, actually. So
yeah, let's go.
See, like that's the struggle that the newer people won't know about. That fucking.
I wish isekai was a thing back then, bro.
You just want the comedy of it all.
Exactly, comedy writes itself.
I've learned. I instinctively cringe when
somebody said somebody said Digimon was an isekai.
Oh my god.
They're not wrong.
Yeah. And the funny thing is we had isekai back then. We just didn't have They weren't like.
I don't think it was categorized as an isekai. I think it was just reborn in a new world.
Because it wasn't common enough to be considered an isekai.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't common enough to have its own genre, is what I should have said.
Yeah.
For fucking the early struggle back in the day was literally just like having people to talk to and interact with it, and then B, fucking not having to explain yourself every time someone who didn't get it came up behind you and asked you a question, only for you to realize, well, they don't really give a fuck. They only asked because they were in the moment, and then like after that, it never comes up again.
Or C, trying to say the Japanese name of the show you're watching.
Yeah,
I don't even. Yeah, but imagine when you start watching those shows that didn't have dubs, and you had to explain to somebody what the fuck you were watching. It was like Kokoro no Isekai no Wano Kuni, and it's like what?
Sir, speak English, please.
And I'm like, how the fuck do I explain this? So like, yeah, the struggle. It's just a different type of struggle. But Kevin, I was gonna say, did you have a lot of people you interacted with, or none at all?
No, that answer I gave a while ago was pretty much the answer I still keep till now. It's that I didn't. I knew some people, but I never really talked with them about it at all because it just felt weird too, for me personally. So most of my experiences getting into anime has mainly just been growing up independently, basically, with it. Like I said, if there's something that I'm growing up and I'm like getting fondness of, whether it be like the dragons or kitsunes or stuff like that, or say like slice of life, I go and try to hunt those down. But I do that on my own term and not necessarily through word of mouth. Because back then, even here, it still was very, very niche to even find people that talk about it openly, specifically at that.
Yeah.
So that's my experience.
You would occasionally find, like, I think you would occasionally, at least in my high school experience, you would occasionally find like the one anime friend that you're probably friends with, and you talk about like and have like genuine conversation with. But then like, and we gotta talk about this, so don't get like anal, guys. Girls, like, we gotta talk about girls.
Well, wait. Before what I have will kind of lead into it anyway.
Yeah,
and it's a somewhat deviation, but it's a quick thing. The quick question is this: what is the cringiest anime shit you've done in real life? Like shit that you know damn well, that shit that only is openly tolerated in like conventions and shit, but like realistic.
What is that thing?
Yeah, the Chunibyo. Yeah, like what is the most cringy like anime shit you've done in like real life?
I think I tried to power up one time.
Oh, so you're the I have the power of God in anime on my side.
No.
I thought you were talking about the black kid that tried to turn into like a real life Super Saiyan. That one was.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't as intense as he did, but like, I remember like in elementary school, I'd be in a play fight and like a Dragon Ball Z, so I'd just do the power up thing, and they'd be like, "What are you doing?"
It's like Gintoki from Gintama, who tries to do it, and then the people find him behind the bush, and he's so fucking embarrassed once they find him. She had me in tears in that episode.
Oh, God.
If you guys know the scene I'm talking about from Gintama, that shit is hilarious, because he starts screaming the kame. Like, literally, that whole thing we're talking about tonight, that episode describes it beautifully, because everybody's trying to perform the Kamehameha wave, and they're doing it behind everyone's back. So the moment they find him, he just starts sulking in depression, bro. He doesn't have no way to figure out how to recover. That's the worst one. It's not necessarily when you do it. It's that when a certain group of individuals you don't want to see you do it end up finding you doing it. And then you find yourself in a state of disbelief to the point that you have no idea how you're going to get yourself out of this situation.
Yeah, but to go back on what I was saying, we got to talk about them. Girls.
Wait.
I am so fucking tired of delaying this. Go.
No, because you gave your cringy shit, but me and Kevin didn't give our cringy moment.
Yeah.
Mine's, to be fair, and if you watch my videos back in the day, even now, realistically, I still do a lot of that cringy shit like naturally. I very much was the guy who did it a lot in his room, but for the sake of public embarrassment. I think the worst the thing I tried to do as back in high school, I tried to do Luffy's Gear Second pose, which some of you guys have seen me do in videos, but I tried to do it in real life. And I don't know, it was me just. I'm the kind of dude who will create scenario. I pretty much was in full Chuny mode. Actually, that's the best way to describe it. I was in full Chuny Bio mode, thinking I was in like some sort of like fight, and I was out there on the football field, and no one was there because I think I was like the last one to finish the thing, so I had to like pick up shit and everyone else had already left, and I just started doing like imaginary like going on. I had my arm locked out in the L pose where you do jet pistol and shit, and I remember just going, and then I turned. Which actually, ironically enough, leads into Tyrone's thing. A bunch of girls were walking by, and I was like, "Fuck!" That's the immediate. when you do some goofy shit that you know is goofy in front of the shut up, Almighty. Don't bring up the fucking clone fight stuff. That was a whole saga of my life I don't want to talk about. but yeah, when you do some cringy shit. And you turn and you don't know people are watching, and then you turn or you hear them, and you're like, "Oh god damn it!" And the problem is my anxiety was, please don't say nothing to anybody about this. If you want to laugh at me, that's whatever, but don't tell nobody else. First thing they do, did you know Terrell was over there being weird as fuck in the goddamn no. on the football field earlier today? What was he doing? God, I wish I had a camera. He was doing some weird Naruto shit, and I'm just like...
Nowadays, they would just have a camera.
Well, no, because... Well, actually, you're right.
Oh, shit, but, yeah. Maybe we did get saved back then.
I was mad for two reasons. One, it's not fucking Naruto. That's the first problem. And two, fuck, why did you see me? But before... Kevin, did you have any shit before we let Tyrone go on with the girl conversation?
It is kind of embarrassing, but it's not. I don't know if it's as weird as yours, but my favorite moments, especially because I was such in a kick with the slice of life. You know, like when an episode ends, they always look at the sunset, and then the episode ends in credits. And so I would have moments where I would like imagine myself like in the to be continued segment where I would just speak to myself like a narration or some shit.
Nice.
And then, like, somebody would walk by me and be like, "Who are you talking to?"
Oh, were you talking? You were, like, talking in the third person and shit?
Yeah, like some shit like that.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That's like when you... That's what one thing people didn't realize, that, like, a lot of anime had the main character voice their narrations at the end of the episode, and people wouldn't realize it. And so I remember when I started watching shit in dubbed and went, oh, that's actually... Luffy talking during the preview and things like that. So you would hear the narration, but like they would talk about each other in the third person. So I can just imagine Kevin sitting there in the park going like, and thus Kevin's day was over. But what adventures would he have on the way home? And then someone walked by like, who the fuck is Kevin? I'm like, shit.
It was either that or doing one of those like stupid freeze frames as well. Did you guys ever do those moments with freeze frames?
Yeah.
Freeze frames?
Yeah, well, you just like freeze yourself. Like that's where like how in the end of Pokemon, like early Pokemon.
Oh, you mean like the to be continued freeze frame? Yeah. I got you. Maybe once or twice. That wasn't really my thing. My thing was like ingesting myself into. I was very Chunibyo about shit. That was like my thing.
I wonder how you looked like back then with that. Then all right, but Tyrone,
you can see some of it through the old Game Manic videos. But yeah, but go ahead, Tyrone.
We got to talk about it. And again, nowadays, this wouldn't be a topic of conversation this time because we live in a world that's supposed to, I guess, be gender neutral. Or at least a fake version of gender neutral. Girls. Ladies. So in my school, I actually had two friends who were female who liked anime. They liked anime, but they were the female demographic of liking anime was significantly different, and I wish we at least had one of the girls here to kind of vouch for it. But
I mean, she pooped in earlier before. She's in the chat right now. Yeah.
But the female Emmy was here for like a second. Anyway, from what I understand, the female demographic, when they liked anime, they were mostly viewed as like the odd girl. And this was back when that was actually a trait and not a fucking label you can have for a TikTok or whatever, or an Instagram. This was that situation where the girls that liked that stuff didn't dress like revealing. They mostly wore like either the school uniform or like a casual tee with some jeans and tennis shoes, or a fucking hoodie and some a hoodie and some torn jeans and like what are those damn shoes?
What?
The damn shoes. Why am I forgetting them now? Why am I drawing a blank?
That was like homely looking girls. This was the way I describe them.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. Those shoes, those they were the shoes with the large amount of laces that go up.
Oh, fuck. Oh, I knew what you're talking about.
Now the chat will probably tell me about it later. Anyway, it would be those girls, right? It wouldn't be like the popular perky breasted fucking short skirt girls. It would be mostly like the girls that were dressed almost like guys, actually. And they didn't get a lot of attention from men. And they were mostly just seen as like, I think the best interpretation would be if you watched Chucks. Thank you, Chuck. God damn it. Chucks.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Chucks. Anyway, if you watch the movie Turning Red, I think that's an accurate, and Converse, thank you.
Yeah, Converse.
If you watch the movie Turning Red, I think that's a good interpretation of what I'm talking about, though. They were like the weird girls, right? They were the nerdy weird girls, you know?
Yeah. That's also because female anime fans had a different
exactly
stigma.
So you would run into that only because, and there were very few and in between. And because of that, though, you would run into this situation where there wouldn't be any real female anime fans with the exception of the very small percentage. And if not that, then the wannabe golf chicks had anime swag on them. So I remember there was this, I brought up two of my friends, but there was another friend I had that was a female that liked anime, but she would wear like vampire teeth when she comes to school. She would wear like a choker openly. She would wear mostly black and pink. Like those were her primary colors. Yeah, just that chick. So you had if you were a guy looking for a girl that likes anime, you had all of two choices.
Yeah.
You would have girl that wears a hoodie all the time with torn jeans, or you would have chick that wears vampire teeth and choker openly. Yeah. Those are your choices. You did not have anything outside of that. You those were your options.
And the irony is that she had her own stereotypes. The two things most male anime fans assume that female anime fans watch, and to be fair, it was confirmed because a lot of female anime fans were like this. They only watched like two types of shows. It was either like slice of life / shoujo, or like boys love series, and that was
or Inuyasha.
Well, that essentially that is a boys love shonen Jump series.
Well, that was like one of the like. You ever see those memes where like two buff dudes are shaking hands with each other? One of the buff dudes would be like, likes action anime. And then the other buff dude would be like, likes romance anime. And then when they clasp their hands together, you see their hands and it says Inuyasha.
Yeah. Women were mainly into two types of shit, either slice of life romance type shit or like gay shit. And the reason why that was important is because you would then get some girls who were into like Shonen Jump battle series, but they were mainly into it for like two reasons. One, because the guys were hot, or B, because the guys shipped the guys together. Yeah. Regardless of the context. Motherfuckers were weird. Which is funny.
Yeah, I even heard like in Dragon Ball Z, some ladies said they like Dragon Ball Z because, I mean, they were really well detailed drawings of characters. So, yeah, you got Goku and Vegeta and stuff looking bulky as hell.
Actually, look, Chad even says like, yeah, and yaoi.
Yaoi.
Yeah, that's what we call them, yaoi fangirls.
I believe Black Butler popped off around that
Oh
time.
my god! Oh my god!
Yeah, Black Butler was
a whole problem.
Yeah, Black Butler was pretty much the woman's like rite of passage for at that point.
Yeah, like when you start getting those pretty boys,
a weeb.
When you start getting those pretty boy, either girly looking guys or pretty pretty boy bitches. Fucking girls lost their goddamn. Black Butler was fucking it. I actually actively never watched that series.
I love
just
that
because
I watched it. I watched the first half. I did not watch the second half. Though.
Damn, how dare you? You didn't commit.
Well, no, because Black Butler, the way the first season ends, it's like, oh, that's a nice ending, and then they can make a second season. I'm like, no, you fucked up the ending.
Oh my god! Wait. Oran High School Host Club. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Okay, so I got into that actually kind of late, only because my ex who I was dating at the time watched it, and she introduced me to Oran Host Club.
Dude, that show is actually better than I thought it'd be.
Yeah, Oran Host Club and Fruit Basket were like women's like rite of passage into anime, and if not that, then it was definitely Inuyasha or Black Butler.
Yeah, agreed.
Emmy actually says here in the chat, if you would like, she can come in and chime her thoughts about this.
Yeah, definitely.
Emmy, if you want to share your thoughts about it too, because we did mention from we can't necessarily relate to the girl.
I know that Sailor Moon was intended for that audience, but weirdly, more guys got into Sailor Moon than girls did.
The reason being was two things. It wasn't that girls were into
She partied.
No, it wasn't even that.
Twirls, bro.
It wasn't even that. It was the fact that, like, I think didn't Dragon Ball Z come on after Sailor Moon?
Yes.
So the problem is that
a whole schedule after school revolved around that.
So people waited. So the problem is that people waited for Dragon Ball to come on.
Yeah.
But ended up watching Sailor Moon and went, all right. And then went, ooh, that's kind of pretty good. And they went, oh, let's go Usagi. And
she party.
And now that's where it comes up in conversation. It's like, oh, who's the strongest character? Goku. No. It's fucking Usagi from Sailor Moon.
But can she beat Goku though?
Yes. No male.
Depending on the context, yes.
Yes, she can. She always will. But that was a whole experience, which kind of gets into like, those were our trends. Like, I don't know, do y'all remember when Haruhi and Lucky Star blew up?
I never watched those. Not
that you watched them.
No, I've never.
No, but I've seen AMVs of them.
Yeah, AMVs, but I could never tell if that was made by a chick or not.
It wasn't even that it was a chick. The phenomenon of those shows were adopted by the female community. It was the fucking Haruhi Suzumiya dance that everyone tried to do, and Lucky Star was just cute chibi shit that people just liked. Like that to me is their iteration of Azumanga Daioh, where it's just cute girls doing cute shit just because. Like, it's just fuck. There are just certain shows that popped off back then for like the dumbest fucking reasons. Yeah. I know a lot of people still fuck with Haruhi Suzumiya. That's on them. That's them and their bad decisions, but that's whatever.
Also, that song is just so fucking.
Oh no, the song's catchy as fuck.
Dude, that has no right. Nazo.
Oh yeah, K-On! K-On was another one that blew up. It was like fucking crazy. And K-On is literally just cute girls in a rock band. That's it.
K-On control.
Yeah, well played. But it kind of gets into the other. It kind of starts leading into the other. Oh, is Emmy here?
Yes, I think she popped in.
Well, yeah.
It's a girl.
Oh my god, it's a girl.
It's a girl.
It's a girl.
Guys, you can't do this. All right, listen. We're adults.
We're being the problem.
We are adults, bro.
Well, actually, yeah.
One of them is a girl, though.
All right, listen. Give your feminine experience and you're in the family.
You like anime?
I do like anime. Well, I mean,
what a date! What a automatically date!
God.
Kevin, get him. He's drunk.
That's literally how it was back then.
That was what it was. If we saw a girl who was in anime, we knew we would have to accept the yaoi fandom, and that's fine. Just can we go out?
A small price to pay for salvation.
Yeah, exactly. Kevin knew.
Oh my god.
That was the whole thing. We would compromise on yaoi if we could go out. That's all that fucking matters at that point.
Yeah. But first of all, let's welcome our guest here, Emmy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. Hello.
So let us catch you up to speed real quick when it comes to the question at hand. Terrell, what was the question?
At this point, just give me your experience as a female anime fan. Like, what were we'll keep it to these three for you. What were your gateway shows?
My gateway shows? Okay, they're really okay. My first like non-Pokemon anime was Your Lie in April. So that was like my first one.
Oh, what?
Oh,
yeah,
no.
Okay. Well, here's the thing, right? Like, we've been over. Like, okay, I mean, like, not like. Okay, I'm not counting like Sailor Moon and all that stuff. Cause like I watched a little bit of Sailor Moon, but like I don't remember it because I was small. So like I'm counting like how do I say this? Like I'm counting like anime that's like I'm watching illegally online.
That was literally our entire childhood. To be fair.
Yeah, no, but like for Evie, right? Because like for me, I got into anime really late, so I got into it in like high school in like grade 10. So so like my first like I guess like non-Pokemon anime, I guess you could say, was Your Lie in April, and then I kind of went from there. So I wasn't really watching like the big ones that you guys were talking about. I did watch K-On! Like I did enter on that, and I really liked K-On! I still really like K-On! Because it's just a meme show. It's just really funny. But like in terms of like I guess the anime experience, like I knew a couple, like some of my friends were into anime and stuff like that. Actually a big part of my friend group was, and like it was like evenly like boys and girls. So like it was okay for them. In terms of like other people, I noticed that especially in high school when anime started streaming on Netflix, that's when it became really mainstream, and that's when it started getting annoying because the Attack on Titan phase came. So like literally everyone and their mom was talking about Attack on Titan, and I'm just over here like, so like, what about this anime? People would be like, what's that? And it's just like, ugh, it's not on Netflix, so you don't know. So it was like My Hero Academia. It was what else? Even Haikyuu as well was really popular. I didn't watch Haikyuu because at that point I was just like, I don't know. It's just
people were really into like Sword Art Online and Erased.
Yeah.
And shit.
Oh my god, yeah.
The Sword Art Online boom was crazy.
Oh, that was absolutely.
I
watched I remember watching Sword Art Online just to like see what the hype was. I watched like the first. I'm still scarred by that anime. I watched like the first. The first season, I guess you could say, and that was horrible. Like the first 14 episodes were okay, and then like afterwards, I was just
season
like, nah.
1B is
Season 1B was an absolute nightmare. That scarred me, and I was like, you know what? No more Sword Art Online for me.
I will say though, Sword Art Online was like that one instance where the genders united in one show. And it was both a male and female show.
You know why? Because there wasn't enough cute shit to keep the girls entertained on some level.
No, but here's the thing for Sword Art Online too. Like Asuna started out as like a really strong like character, and then like as the show went on and she became more closer to like Kirito, like I guess like that independence like kind of went away like really really fast, and they kind of just made her like damsel in distress, which pissed me off. I was just like, what was the point of this? Like what?
Because I mean, in common Japanese culture, it's ideal for the woman to be very submissive to her boyfriend / husband. So Asuna, once she took the role of Kirito's wife, she became submissive, essentially. She didn't have to be the strong, independent woman anymore.
And she became his wife, like, in the first 7 episodes. It was ridiculous.
Oh, that happened.
By the end of the first half of the first season, they were essentially married and had a child.
And Kirito was still getting women afterwards.
Also, side note, Almighty Gangster, why did girls love Haikyuu? For some reason, girls in sports animes, I don't really know.
Yeah, even Free as well. That was really big.
That
I
one
didn't
made
watch
sense.
it either.
That was just gay shit. Women
just like talking about gay shit. Yuri on Ice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Yuri on Ice is gay as
What year did Yuri on Ice come out? I feel like that came out when I was like.
So Emmy,
okay, so that was still in high school then. Yeah.
Emmy, you're in an interesting position because you're in the. Not only are you in the female category, you're also in probably one of the newer anime fans. Because if you just said Your Lie in April, that's like what?
Yeah,
that was 2014.
Yeah, 2014.
So like I said, I got into anime like that was like non-Pokemon like really late. So I got into it and like, cause here's the thing too, internet wise, like I had dial-up until I was in grade 8. So like high school, that's when we got like really fast internet. So like even trying to watch like anime, like I tried watching Lucky Star in elementary school and it would just not load. And I was like, you know what? I guess I'm not watching anime because like my best friend. Yeah. My best friend was
well played.
okay. because my best friend was into anime in elementary school, but I would say for elementary school, that's where I had to hide like my interest and stuff because I drew and stuff like that, and like my cousins, like who I grew up with, they were into anime as well. So like I like watched my older cousin, she would draw and she would like draw like basically like I guess like anime style, quote unquote. I don't know if that's correct terming.
Yeah, my friend was like that too.
Yeah, so like that's how I learned, right? But like all these like shows that it was coming from and stuff, like I didn't really watch it too much just because in elementary school I had to hide that because it was weird. So like even like Pokemon, I had to hide that completely. Like I remember I tried embracing it and then I got bullied for it, so I was like, you know what? I'ma just not. Small Emmy's just not. So in elementary school I was kind of sheltered from that. As I was like I would say approaching like grade 7 and grade 8, that's when I was able to at least like express a little bit more just because my best friend, she like who I met at that time, she was really heavily into anime and stuff, but she was like kind of like, yeah, whatever about it, like didn't really care what other people had to say. So I was like, oh, that's true. Who cares what other people have to say? And then as I went into high school, I still had that where it was just like I was interested in it, and then I started watching it and I was like, oh, okay, who cares? Everyone can screw off. It's fine.
Yeah, but you were kind of in that. You were in that transition year where like it was still. You were kind of like, it's weird. You were kind of in the middle of our, like, I would say like towards the latter half of me and Tyrone and KG's younger years, going into like the new generation's more open-minded years where they were like, oh, this is on like mainstream networks. You can watch it on like you said, Netflix and shit. So probably by high school and shit, it wasn't nowhere near as weird to be into anime versus like when you were younger.
Yeah, 100%. Well, the thing for Netflix though is that they didn't have like a wide variety of stuff, right? Didn't. So they did like not. What the few shows that they did, that's what everyone was talking about, and I was over here like, I'm watching Sound Euphonium. Is anybody watching that? No.
The one with the big trombone shit.
They were like, what the fuck is that?
I was like, what's that? I'm just
is that a disease? Are you okay?
Well, see that gets into the conversation of, well, technically we would be doing gaslighting then gatekeeping. Well, fuck it, let's go into it. So there's been conversations of recently that like the reason why kids were bullied back in like I would say our generation or maybe Emmy's early years wasn't due to you being an anime fan. It was due to you just being a weird individual. Like it was just due to the weirdness that some anime fans just exude naturally. Because you would make references to like shows. For the guys, we usually make references to like attacks like Big Bang, Kamehameha, that kind of shit, or Rasengan. And I guess the question is, do you believe that the reason why if you were bullied or harassed or mocked was based behind because you were just a weird individual, or do you really think it was because of the anime, of the stuff you liked, which in this case would be anime and I guess manga to a lesser degree? For us, for like me, Tyrone, and Kevin, manga didn't really play that much of a role until like maybe high school, but it's probably more common now because people are into it more now.
Yeah.
Would you say that the reason why you ever got bullied or harassed was just because you were weird and had nothing to do with the fact that you were in anime and manga?
I mean, like, I guess for younger Emmy, I'm not exactly sure because I don't really remember like, I know I did get like
trauma. We don't like to remember trauma.
I just forgot about it. Just like, you know what, it's fine. Like, I remember the incident that happened because like, I think what we had to do is we had to put like our favorite show or something like that, and then like I put, and like it had to be like hung up somewhere, so then I put like Pokemon, of course, and then I remember like kids walking by and they would be like, what the hell, Pokemon? They're like, oh, this girl's like, what the hell, what's wrong with her? Like she, that's like a kid's show or something like that. So it's like, but I'm a kid. So it's like, what? So I'm
watching. Hey, yo, you still watching Pokemon?
Yeah, it's like you're 6 years old. Were you a child?
That's what I'm saying. I think that's what it was. It's these kids who are just trying. I don't know if I was weird. I was probably a weird kid. I can't even deny that. I'm still weird to this day, which honestly I have embraced. I'm just Emmy at this point.
Yeah, but I hate, like, and this isn't your fault, but weird is at this day and age is viewed as like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Well, now,
yeah,
because now
it wasn't.
now you're quirky and you're interesting because you're
I've seen so many stupid ass Facebook posts where it's like, I just want to grow up and be weird together with somebody, and I'm just like,
what?
What exactly is? Well, that mean weird. That mean weird as in like, it's weird as quirky. Thank you, Ty. You said it the best.
Well,
it's like weird is like a charm now. It's like a level of charm. It breaks outside of the societal industrial norms of the everyday and regimen. Like that's the point.
Here's the thing. I remember being called, like, I know, like, I exactly understand what you mean, too, because I remember if I was called weird, like, in elementary school, for example, like, I would take it, like, to heart, of course, because it's just, like, why? Like, what's wrong with me kind of thing. But, like, now, of course, like, it's a different whole meaning, and I think it's also because we're adults, too, so it's kind of just like, we're just ourselves. That's pretty much it. And, like, it's kind of like, I would rather be interesting than be normal, because now if you're called normal... Now it's just like, oh, you're boring.
It's boring.
Yeah. Yep. So there's a whole like it's a 180 now. It's a complete 180 where it's just like if you're weird, you're entertaining and you're cool. If you're normal, you're just boring and you have nothing else to give to life. It's pretty much what it is. But
here's the irony of that question. It's a loaded question because the argument whether or not you were bullied because you were weird or you were bullied because you were an anime fan.
Yeah.
Is irrelevant. You know why? Because even if you were weird, that's not a justifiable reason to bully anybody. You should be bullied.
100%. It's not any reason.
No.
If you want the exact reason,
that's what gets to the crux of the argument.
People are like, I think it's not just cut and dry though. I think there are anime fans, and I think there are anime fans that also happen to be bizarre. I remember we had this one kid. He would like, and this was in high school. He would like imagine you got to go down the hall and you got to go down like a flight of steps to get to the second layer of the hall. He would jump off the top step and land to the floor and do like the Spider-Man pose, right?
Oh, I knew someone who did that too. Yeah.
And that's how he would get to most classes every day. He would just do that. And anime fan or not, I looked at him even and was like, that's kind of...
Yeah, but Tyrone, the issue isn't that he wasn't weird. I mean, he was probably weird, definitely, but that wasn't the issue. The issue is to say that the bullying was justified if I was weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's not justifiable in any sense of the word. I'm just saying, like it's definitely gonna turn people away in some sense. Like, I'm refused to believe we live in a world where we can accept everything. That's not possible. It's just not.
Exactly.
Like, there's some things that's gonna get your eyebrow raising, and some people do stuff with situations they don't understand. Fear, intimidation, all of those things are steps that are made. Challenges, those are things that are taken on, especially with this alpha beta society we live in, where someone has to prove validation, so they gotta snuff out the weak, and the weak generally being the people who are into that stuff because they're not into the norm.
Well, Tyrone, like to answer your thought and also bounce off Terrell's whole. I lost my train of thought.
Answer Terrell and bounce off of my thought. I got what you meant.
I know, but like I forgot what I was gonna say. Damn it! I hate when this happens. So like,
don't worry, we'll let you come back to it.
Yeah.
KG, do you have any input?
Yeah.
In terms of what?
I mean, like in terms of
the layout of society. Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
All right, let's
make sure she gets her answer yet.
Before I lose it again. Okay, so the whole thing with that is that it bounces off what Terrell said and also goes to what you said, Tyrone. Is just I think the bullying happens because it comes from a place of ignorance and also because it's the minority. So people like make fun of others or just bully others, whatever, because of their ignorance to the whole thing that they can't comprehend or can't understand. So the people who really like anime to others who have no idea of this world, they just think it's weird because it's not something that they've seen before, right? So I think that's where it all comes from. It's just ignorance. That's literally it. That's where bullying stems from. It's just ignorance. They just don't know.
Most of our conflicts come from just pure ignorance.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Does it make it right? Absolutely not. But like those said people, do they choose to learn from afterwards? No. But then the majority happens where now look at how many anime fans there are now compared to before, right?
Well,
So
I would say a large contribution to that is the internet too. It's made things more mainstream, and also like the
bandwagoning. That's
the people. I would also add on to it the people that are that were anime fans in like middle school and high school are now adults, and since they're now adults, they're not gonna shame their kids for liking anime. You gotta understand too. At least with Terrell KG and I, Emmy, I don't. This may qualify for you, but Terrell KG and I were born and grew up in a time in which parents, unless you were at special cases, my dad or my stepdad had no clue what the term anime even meant.
No, my parents
they didn't know. They didn't know. You would get the occasional adult here or there who was very much studied in Japanese culture. So the classic geek or nerd. But then for the majority, the average parent wasn't born into this weeb lifestyle.
Yeah.
Dads didn't know. Like the moms didn't know. Hell, I'll tell you how many times my mom has walked in and watched me watching an anime at an awkward moment. And I have to explain to her, this is what happens in the show. This isn't porn.
Yeah.
Shit, right?
Especially when the female character makes a weird noise.
But yeah, so just now those people are parents. Now those fans are parents. And they're not gonna
keep going, Tyrone.
Okay, they're not gonna demean their children for liking literally the very thing they grew up with. It's harder to do that. So now anime culture is more accepted because now it's in the position of adult. Yeah. Now it's truly in the utilitarian range of adults. The people who are now the abused have the control. With the access of the internet, they can publicly post stuff. With anime continuously to grow via streaming services and popular services like Netflix and hell, even Disney Plus at this point, Bleach.
Yeah, at this point.
Yeah. With all of that being widespread now and all of it being so quick to progress along with the generation growth, it's no wonder now while anime life is more accepted. I mean, hell, how many families have you seen come to con together where the baby is dressed up as the child of an anime family? I mean, hell, even now, Spy Family has a crap ton of cosplays of little girls as just Anya, while the mother and father are the parents respectfully. You just see it now. It's just everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is a bittersweet taste for classic anime fans. It's a bittersweet because it's how are we supposed to enter this world where the thing that we got openly made fun of for liking is now become the norm? What do you do exactly? KG, did you have anything to add, by the way? My bad.
No, not necessarily in terms of this topic, because I felt like everybody managed to say what they needed to say. I just feel that your answers were more than enough to justify everything that I could have said.
I mean,
that just says a lot,
I mean, and my parents, just to get on them again, my mom didn't understand it at first. But as she noticed that I started watching it more, I think as a responsible parent, she just started to learn about it more. And even some of my family members started learning about it more. My grandma knows nothing of it, but she'll be like, "Oh, that's that dragon shit or that Pokey Boy or whatever the hell you watch."
Pokey Boy, what the fuck?
My grandmother. Anyway,
I will say though, if I had to talk for experiences with family, at least with anime, she is very well. The funny thing is,
your mom is
absurd, bro. Because
my mom is absurdly
listen, JG's mom was a form, it'd be water. It just takes any shape.
Yeah, your mom is so fucking supportive. It's almost jarring. I'm
it's not even just being supportive; is that she enjoys it as well herself.
But your mom is incredibly open-minded in that sense, because I don't know that many adults who are into it past I would say in their 50s or 60s.
And if you do find them, it's mostly fathers. I will admit it's probably fathers.
I don't know any.
More than likely fathers. My dad and my dad and stepdad like anime.
Yeah, I know some older men who like anime, but I have never met an older woman who likes anime.
And there's some family members that were into anime and didn't even realize what it was.
They just thought it was an animated like by Disney or something.
Yeah, it's like cartoon. Yeah. Like again, my aunt is a big Speed Racer fan. She has the entire series on DVD. She loves Speed Racer.
Insane.
Yeah, she loves Speed Racer. She didn't know it was an anime. I told her like recently it was an anime, and she's like, "Oh, I mean, I just like Speed Racer." So, and then Astro Boy, Voltron, tons of parents. Anime was all around the 80s. I think they just didn't know. They honestly just 100%. Didn't know.
Yeah, okay, so let me explain this, because at least in my side, for my family, they never knew they were watching Japanese stuff until we talked about it. Because back then in the day when she lived in Mexico, she used to watch a show. I forgot what it was called in Spanish, but in English or in Japanese, the name of the show was called Captain Tsubasa. If you guys ever heard of that show.
Isn't that the soccer?
Yes, that's the soccer show. Show, yes.
Oh, yeah! They made a game out of that recently that looks fucking hard.
Yeah, now here's the thing, though. In Mexico, that was actually one of the few dubs that was super popular back in the day. I just wish I could remember what it was called in the other language, but that was a very well-known series back then. And when I talked about it with my mother about it, she didn't really understand it at first, and then she caught on when we played the Japanese version. She's like, "Wait a minute, no, I've seen this before." And then she told me she watched like the original Captain Tsubasa. It wasn't called that; it was something else. I wish I could remember the name of it. But yeah, she grew up with that one as a surprise to me, and I didn't know that. But
certain shows are more popular in certain countries.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon Ball Z was that, but she already moved out of that area before.
Yeah. I think Spanish got. I think like a lot of Spanish people
in Mexico, Dragon Ball blew the fuck up.
If you were there for the Super era, you guys know what I'm talking about. In Mexico, they had whole rows of just streets filled to the brim to watch this giant panel on screen to watch the latest episode of Dragon Ball Super and the Tournament of Power. That shit was gargantuan. It was so big, even Funimation had to come in and try to put it down. But the community of Mexico said, "Fuck that, we ain't doing that shit. We're going the whole mile," and they still did it anyway. Also, I finally remembered the name of it. It was called Campeones Hacia el Mundo or something like that. That's what it was called in Spanish, Captain Tsubasa. And that's what you watched.
I think also, just to get on top of that, when it came down to it, like, the parents didn't know. It wasn't even the marketing for it. It wasn't called anime. Even back then, like, they didn't call it anime. They would call it, like, Japanese animated cartoons or some shit.
Or the next animated hit.
That's even acknowledged Japan in any way.
Yeah, something that was long and convoluted and you wouldn't really, like...
Well, remember, most of the early dubs, like, even early, Sailor Moon's, Dragon Ball's early dubs, and, I mean, people talk about Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot because they were really known for doing it, but, like, the other early shows were also known for, like, hiding the Japanese-ness of their origin. And I think that was mainly due to they didn't think the cultural differences would be received well at that time, and ironically enough, the shows were still received well, really.
And if they did advertise it as a Japanese show, that would be very cringeworthy about it.
Also, Donnie, you're right. It's called Japanimation. I do remember that.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, God.
Yeah, or Fox would call it the Bonsai Hour. I was like, oh, God. Oh,
the purple gorilla?
Not racism.
No. It's just bad.
No, they'd just be like bonsai, like the bonsai tree. They'd be like, bonsai! Like, oh, no.
That's right, because didn't Cartoon Network have that thing? What was it called? Magoozy?
Oh, Magoozy, yeah. The Cartoon Network did have Magoozy. It happened around 4 o'clock. It showed Code Lyoko, which wasn't Japanese. They would show Code Lyoko and Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and shit. And it's Totally Spies.
Yeah.
I love Totally Spies.
I love Totally Spies.
By the way, they're remaking that.
Well, you love Alex.
More specifically, I love Alex. Yeah.
Also, Amy, did you know that Totally Spies is essentially how most people gain fetishes, kinks in their childhood?
Well, that's because the writer.
No, if you ever watch Totally Spies, almost every episode.
I just said it. That's because the writer did that.
Yeah, the writer definitely.
I can't say I'm mad at him. That's all I'm gonna say.
See, but like Small Emmy didn't catch on that. I was just like,
no, I don't think no child did. But you'd be surprised some of the shit that you might be into in your personal life derives from some shit you may have seen as a child and didn't realize it at the time. Totally Spies fucked up a lot of kids.
But yeah, I think what it was too is, and I think this is what it really boiled down to.
The French are weird.
I wanna go into
almighty gangster. He said it.
I want to say that the outcast behavior of anime fans in the early days mostly came from, I think there were a lot more anime fans than we thought. I think they just were so quiet about it that we couldn't find the other fans. If you happen to just run into one, then yeah, you two were in a safe zone. But there were some that probably did like anime and just openly hit it better or hit it so well to the point where they never said anything. Even to this day, I'll text people from my high school and we'll openly talk about it now, but I'd be like, I would literally say the sentence, I didn't know you were a fan of this show, or I didn't know you liked this, or I didn't know you watched this. They'd be like, yeah, I used to watch it all the time. I'd be like, why didn't we talk about this in high school? And they'd be like, I never brought it up.
Yeah.
No, it's not that I never brought it up. It's I never wanted to bring it up.
No, they didn't want to bring it up.
There are some people I knew in high school all the way up until senior year, and I didn't find out until senior year that they were into anime. I knew a dude who literally drew pictures of like Goku, Naruto, Luffy in his notebook, and I had known him for 4 years and never brought it up. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck is this? And the reason why I even brought up the whole whether or not you were getting bullied, whether or not you were an anime fan versus being bullied because you were weird, is because some of the people who are bringing this up as conversations between the different generations of anime fans are like either people who were like considered the newer generation or people who did exactly what we're talking about. They didn't really admit that they were anime fans until like way later, or they didn't become anime fans until way later.
Right.
And the issue I always had with it is that to me it comes off as a way of like when you tell me that the reason why you may or may or not have harassed me when I was little is because I was weird and not because of the shit I watch. I'm like, to me, it's you're trying to devalue the trauma that was placed upon me as a child. And it's one of the few times I'll ever use this term. It feels like you gaslit me to make it sound like, oh, well, it was your fault for being weird. It had nothing to do with your anime fandom. And I'm like, is that because you're a fan now and because you enjoy it, and now that's why you're saying it's not the anime stuff?
Right.
And now you're just claiming I'm weird? Because I guess my issue is this, which kind of gets into the gatekeeping part as well. Mm-hmm. There are certain older fans who feel some type of way about newer fans. And I think that's just something that older people will always have to deal with. It's like how our parents say shit to us about things that we do differently than what they did as kids. There will always be that gap because of what they experience versus we experience. I get that. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like at a certain point, you don't need to discredit experiences just because of it. And I feel like
why do we have to experience the same thing you experienced back then? You know, kind of.
And situation. So what irks me is when new fans are like, oh, well, I'll make a claim and say we weren't built the same. If you're a newer fan, you weren't built the same way we were because you didn't have to hide your love of something. Yeah. You spent your childhood being able to openly talk about it with people, and that was the goal. Don't get it twisted. The whole goal was for it to become mainstream enough to where you could just go into a classroom with a Naruto shirt on or a Fire Force shirt on or a Chainsaw Man shirt on and have a normal conversation and it be normal and not do what we did as kids, which is either A, only talk to one person about it, or B, just fucking never brought it up our entire childhoods, right?
Right.
The goal is for you to be able to do those things. But when I say we're not built the same, I mean because we're not. You just didn't have to go through those things.
You know what this kind of experience reminds me of?
What?
It might sound stupid, but it sounds an awful like the first child and the second child.
Yes.
Kind of experience.
Yeah.
If that
as an
makes
older brother,
sense.
As an older brother, I will agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yes. Especially because for me and my brother, we are like a 16-year gap difference.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I'm an 18-year gap from my sister.
Mm-hmm. But do you have any other relations with other like brothers or sisters in between that, or is it?
Well, yeah, I do, but like,
I meant for mine. It's just literally just two. It's just me
yeah,
and him.
yeah. One of the youngest is 18, 18 years apart from me. Yeah.
Okay. Nah, but like, that kind of experience is similar to that because you being the first child, or at least being one of the older ones, you were basically the test course and trying to like allow the parents to get an idea for like how to do the rights and wrongs, and then the second child will come in and they will get to have a much more relatively smoother experience,
and then
becoming a part of the world.
If we were to take it to its roots, I would straight take it to its roots. Let's keep it 100. This spawned from like back in the day. The only ones who, and I'm talking even before our generation, you guys. So we're talking 80s. The only ones who had access to these to this level of culture, Japanese animation, Japanese animated cartoons, not anime. Were the ones who were mostly associated with technology because they had access to the internet, or they would look through those things and they would associate internet, video games, and technology together. The geeks, right? And when that happened, that unfortunately wound up with that stereotypical geek lifestyle. They were the beta males, the weaker ones, mostly the male demographic. Women would go for the men who were alpha, sports goers, football players, quarterbacks, the strong guy, right? We're just breaking it down to its source.
Right.
So the geeks were often associated with guys who would be living with their mother or / grandmother in their basement, playing like Atari or the NES, right? Final Fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, the nerds. And this would be the nerds, exactly. And this would be because they would find different outlets via those things, the fantasy realm, the Renaissance. And obviously they would be the ones that would engage in that culture, the Japanese animated things, they knew their audience. That's why animated women, and this ties into the Japan's culture too, because Japan at this time was also full of those people, not physically alpha male strong people unless they were known as delinquents. But in Japan, the ones that were higher up were the ones animated. So you got the animated Japanese animated cartoons, and they would appeal to what those demographics would like: big boobed ladies, funny tropes, jokes, nerd stuff. So then that would carry over to our nerds who received it well. Final Fantasy bridged the gap between that, and at that point we've got our group. Cons existed way before we were born. Actually, they were just small. Cons would only take up like 1 or 2 rooms in a hotel. Now look at our average con. Look at your average con right now. Right. Like nowadays, they take up like domes. They take up like arenas. They're huge. They'll take up an entire convention hotel if they have to. Auditoriums will be filled with this shit. But back then, cons would just be like one hotel room with some Japanese imported stuff for sales, some VHS tapes, and some video game hardware that was on like floppy disk. So it had a source, it had a root. And that's why nowadays, we're even talking about the abuse that we've suffered through. The adults were going through this mainly because it was positionalized as a title. Oh, if you're a geek, if you're a nerd, if you're a weirdo, you're into this stuff. This is the computerized stuff that you're going to like. Whereas this wasn't associated. Even nowadays, as a teacher, I'm a teacher now. Even nowadays, I still see it. The divide's still there. It's just weirdly has been a lot softer of an impact.
Yeah. Well, now because we're in the generation where you can talk about your feelings and generational trauma, and now your emotions matter. Whereas back in the day, we were taught as kids, you don't
conceal, don't feel.
Yeah, you don't show any of that shit. You hide your emotions. You're not, because it's viewed as a sign of weakness. So like it irks me when people don't realize that like the shit I went through and the shit you went through is different. And it's good that you didn't go through it, but it also means that there are certain conversations you won't be able to have with me because of that difference. And the problem I have is that you got these, going back to the core of it, is that you got these newer anime fans, or these like newer or younger anime fans, I'll say that. Either young kids getting into it, or people who were around our age but didn't get into it until way later, trying to make claims that, oh, well, you guys are just trying to make it sound like it was the anime's fault, the reason why your life was hard. And I'm like, it's not the only reason why my life was hard, but like it was a portion of it. Like people fuck with us, and I'm gonna just use my own personal experience. I'm only gonna bring this up because it's something that I think it wasn't specifically just anime, but pretty much anything that was outside of the culture. I grew up in the South, and I'm black, meaning if I didn't hang around like rap, R&B, and like basketball and football, I was already ostracized just for not being into those things. Like there are plenty of kids I know who were black kids I know who were into like rock and punk and shit, and were actively ostracized because they didn't fit into a box. They didn't fit into a pre-opposed box. And that shit fucked with them. And the good news is that younger black kids now, when they're into those things, if they want to paint their hair blue and fucking black or whatever the hell, they don't get ostracized for those things.
I actually find that funny too, because I remember people would make fun of like the different hair colors. Now I see like every like Latina, black, I see all sorts of women dyeing their hair these vibrant, bright colors. So I'm like, what happened to that shit?
It's just the times are changing, which is fine. Like all that's great, but it also means that you just won't understand when people go, man, back in the day shit was hard. And they're like, no, it wasn't. You see how things are now? It couldn't have been that hard. I'm like, it was hard. You actively had to hide a portion of your personality or yourself as to not get ostracized by either potential friends or family.
Yeah, and like to look at it like just as simple enough. The reason why, like, I agree with you that I don't like the fact that it's like they'll make the argument girls won't talk to you because you were weird, not because you liked anime. No, girls wouldn't talk to you because you like anime because they didn't have anything to talk about with. Most of the time, you building a relationship with someone is you guys having something in common, something that connects you two, and it's hard to have a relationship with somebody where you're like, ooh, I'm gonna watch the next episode of Dragon Ball Z or something, or I'm gonna watch Dragon Ball Kai and see how it differs from the dub of Z. And then you turn to your girlfriend and you're like, what do you think? And she's like, I don't know what Dragon Ball is. I remember my grandpa had Dragon Balls.
Wow. Well, I mean, but it gets, but then also the dating and just women then are different than women are now. Like, it's a different mindset. Women, we were also taught to find, well, it kind of depends. I was taught to some degree to just find a woman who would take you. And then it like turned into like, well, now you should share common interests. And then as I got older, I realized, no, we don't need to share all our interests and shit.
Oh, definitely not. You don't want someone who's just like you. That shit's like creepy.
That took years of trial and error. It wasn't like I just immediately was like 18. I'm like, yeah, I want a girlfriend who's different than me. No, that took me dealing with women who were like me, some who weren't like me, and some that were like in the middle where we shared certain interests and whatever. And it all kind of comes back into the conversation of like, this shit is going to be different depending on when you jump in and how long you stay in. Like, for example, I think every anime fan has the obsession phase. You know the phase where you literally just start watching a bunch of shit.
Yeah, you're just like flooding. Yeah, you're
just flooding yourself. And part of it
because anime is like a fresh new thing now. Yeah,
it's new, and you're just trying to figure out what you like. So a lot of kids. So nowadays, the startup animes is, I'm gonna check out Boruto, or I'm gonna watch, or like as of right now, Demon Slayer. fucking My Hero Academia, Chainsaw Man that comes out in a couple weeks. Like,
I can even tell you now, like when my the ex before the ex that I usually bring up in some of these, we started off by watching shit together. I was like, hey, let's have an anime night, because it was originally supposed to be a bunch of us, but it wound up being just me and her. And I watched like The Gray Man and shit and like stuff like that. And we would watch that a bunch of times, and eventually we just started dating. Like, that's just what happened. And that's because, we found a connection. It's much harder to do that back then because nobody was watching it like that. So I agree with you. People weren't avoiding you because you watch anime. It was just nobody there. There was no demographic.
And the thing is that some people found it later. Kind of like in Emmy's situation. They found it later, right, and that's when their addiction started, and that's when they got into it. But some people just never got into it, which was perfectly fine. But then you had now you got kids who are getting into it from the jump, because our generation are having children, younger than some we should, but that's besides the point. We're having kids, and we're teaching them the things that our parents never taught us, which is why they're able to grow up a little bit freer when it comes to thoughts and opinions and even things they're into without the fear of being judged. I mean, and the reason why I even brought up the race things, because every race treated that shit differently. Every race was a little bit different.
I actually find it funny now. Dragon Ball had, like, not just in the Spanish community, like KG said, the black community. Dragon Ball, I don't know what happened, but Dragon Ball hit the hood hard. Like, they hit the hood hard. You'll come up to the most gangster motherfucker you ever seen in your life. You bring up Dragon Ball, you're in. You're in. You saved yourself. Hey, you ain't supposed to be walking in my streets, cup. I like Goku. Oh, boy, Goku, that's my dude. You'll see an immediate flip. You'll be like, damn. Okay.
To be fair, I always thought, for me, I always gave the impression that Dragon Ball was always a safe zone series for anybody. You could get away with liking Dragon Ball, and
that was a cheater in that sometimes, depending on your situation.
It depends on it. I think Dragon Ball was. I think Z, almost was universally like, okay, yeah, we may not fuck with it, but we respect it. That's where Z was.
Yeah, and it kind of dealt with the same themes. Yeah.
Because Z had the one thing people give a fuck about. Oh, that man hitting like a motherfucker. Man, they swinging over there. Ooh, he hit him with the Kamehameha. Like, people, like, it had enough of that wow factor to it that where people just kind of didn't care about it being Japanese animation or whatever.
I mean, yeah, and like they're buff too, so they're jacked up. It was almost the alpha males anime.
No, it was. I very much believe it was.
It was the alpha males anime.
And then you went into the Naruto generation, which wasn't that far later. And man, there was a clear distinction of whether or not you were cool or not. If you were cool, you knew when not to bring up Naruto. If you weren't cool, because when people talk about blow-ups of shows, obviously Pokemon had its blow-up, and Dragon Ball Z had its blow-up, but the Naruto blow-up, man, that's a whole saga. That's when you were either saying believe it or Date Bayo. That's what you were doing.
And I think Naruto was the reason Naruto had such that differentiation, because Dragon Ball's environment was ambiguous. It wasn't set in a specific location. Toriyama's good at that. That's like the thing he is good at, is making a whimsical world. Naruto was very Japan. It was Japan as fuck. They're ninjas. Naruto's favorite food is ramen. They're doing Japanese, like, hand symbols in ninjutsu. They're using kunai, shuriken. Like, they hit you with the Japan hard.
Also, Naruto wasn't censored much at all.
No, it wasn't. Most of the jutsus were the same name, with the exception of, like, ones that, obviously, the Taiju Kage no Bushinu Jutsu is just shadow clones. But a lot of those others
direct translation this time instead of a random name change.
Yeah. So and then Naruto also bloomed up the AMVs. Hell, Naruto and Death Note, I think, are responsible for probably the most AMVs I've ever seen in my life. And Death Note I think Death Note slammed in where the goth kid showed up. Death Note was like Death Note was like the goth kid's anthem. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god, fucking L and Light, yeah, goth kids were going to town, eating.
Yeah, I always thought to me the craziest transition between my generation and what happens now is I remember back in the day, if you told someone you watched anything that was remotely considered a harem series or even had any bit of fan service, it was immediately equated to hentai, and you were a fucking weirdo.
Now you were viewed as a pervert, which I find funny nowadays.
That's what I'm saying. Nowadays, you have people who are openly rocking like Ahigo hoodies and shit. With the face, the sexual face, the anime girl.
Yeah, how many of you guys own it? Raise your hand.
I don't own it. No, surprisingly, I don't own it. But in people are proudly posting their was it dakimakuras? I forgot how you pronounce it.
Yeah, dakimakuras. Yeah, the
dakimakuras. Let's go.
the fucking pillows, and then having their big breasted waifu mouse pads. And hell, they were even gender equivalent on this one. They got ass cheek guys with their
six pack abs, bro,
or like balls. I think one was like
the largest selling body pillow for some reason is Levi and Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan. They are the largest selling body pillows in the female demographic system.
I didn't think people thought Eren Yeager was attractive. Not gonna lie.
Oh, he's got a big ass fan base. Dude blows the
pillows.
Fuck up.
Yeah, some of the pillows are ridiculous.
Man, I don't even know why these girls like this man so much. Actually, you already know Eren Yeager's taken. Mikasa already got his ass on lock. What are y'all doing?
Wait a minute. Wait. I gotta bring this up.
Oh, it's called a dakimakura, just to let you
know. Yeah, dakimakura.
Let's go.
We got. I'm curious. Is there any anime male crushes we need to know about? We gotta.
She's actually said some before.
You gotta ask.
But what about the dudes then too?
I feel like it's not like the type that you guys are talking about, where it's just like, oh, like I don't know. I think it's more wholesome. Why? Because I just like their personality. So like I look at my wall. Okay, for artwork, I have Suga from Haikyuu. Yeah, that's what I can't think.
No, there's a lot of women that like men from Haikyuu.
There's also official Haikyuu dakimakuras as well. So
I think my favorite though is Kyo from Fruit Basket. So those two. Those are the only two. But I just like their character development. Like it's not the same as like how do I explain this? Like kind of the same thing you guys are explaining, where it's just like, oh, like the mouse pad, or like it's like very like sexualized. I guess it's not. That's not.
Oh, where the cushions or the breasts or the butt, depending on who it is.
Yeah, like when you say like, oh, like crushes, quote unquote, like I see it as like, oh, like their development, like their personality kind of thing. I don't see it as like the other way.
Even when I ask Emmy a pseudo erotic question, she turns it incredibly wholesome and like they have beautiful.
Terrell hates it.
They have beautiful souls, and I'm just sitting in the corner like.
Yeah, because I don't know. That's just how I am. That's just how I am, because I'm just like, oh, they're cute. That's it. But like. It's not like anything crazy like that. It's just like, oh, I just like, they're good people. It's hard to find good people.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you feeling the way you feel. It's just, it's interesting. I bring it up.
Weird.
No, it's not even weird. I just bring it up because I come from an era where you got roasted for mentioning anything like.
Just even the little intricate details of like.
Yeah, but I love the like I used to say, I love that, the cowlick thing they do with some anime girls where like it's like one hair that sticks up. I used to openly be like, bruh, you give me either a girl with that or a girl with a ponytail. It's fucking done with me. People be like, man, you're fucking weird. And now you can get online and people can talk about, man, Nico Robin from One Piece is my wife. I would die for her. And I'm just like, damn, y'all are so lucky, because in my area, you would have got roasted. You would have been roasted to hell just for saying. They'd be like, that's some weak ass shit. But the problem is, we now have a whole culture who fucks with it. So now it's openly all right, because it kind of goes back to, I think, what Tyrone had said. It's the majority thing. There's enough people to where it's not just like one weird dude in the corner talking about, man, I find Naruto's sexy jutsu form pretty intriguing. I do. Versus like a whole group of people being like, bro, Yoruichi is fine as fuck. Like it's not the same thing.
Well, that's what I was saying, though, right? It's like it all comes from a place of ignorance, and also just like time, right? Because like again, like what Tyrone said too, like majority minority, right? So it all goes back to. I will say though, like if I was able to like be more, I guess like free, I guess like in like elementary school in terms of like my interest, I would have probably known a lot more than I do now in terms of anime. I probably would have started a lot earlier than I did like instead of later. And also, in a way, I don't know if it's a bad or good thing, but I did learn a lot of like Disney Channel stuff. So I guess I guess I was kind of like in the everything boat where it's just like I had knowledge on a lot of things, but at least for what I thought, I had a lot of knowledge in everything, so I could kind of just like key on to conversations as I heard them, but then also know like if there was like anime conversations going on too, which there wasn't, but I would know some things at least. So I felt like very like well-rounded, I guess you could say, but I don't know. I think I would have grown up a lot different.
You survive. You now function better in society because of having a couple more years of normality. But you do bring up something interesting. I'll ask Kevin and Tyrone. Do you have any regrets of things you wish you would have done in regards to your fandom when you were younger?
What do you mean?
Like how Emmy's example was like how she wished she was more open and honest about what she liked. And how she would have known more about that stuff because she was more honest and open. Do you feel like there's anything you would have changed about the way you handle things through your childhood?
I mean, I think part of that is mostly with the journey of growing up. I could definitely say, yeah, I wish I was more open about my love for anime back then to the point where I just didn't care. But I think that layer of having to grow up is just one of the trials that comes with it. I mean, embracing it, yes, what I should have done, definitely back then. But learning to embrace it and become a better person now is like the best part. Is the fact that I got through it that way. Like I'm not saying I'm grateful for the bad times. I'm just saying like the level of maturity I have now helps me just look back at those. And Terrell, I know it's a serious topic for you, but for me, I just don't hold it that high anymore. And I understand the pain. I truly do. I think just in my head now, I just sort of embrace the fact that I can openly engage in the culture. Sometimes there are times where I do wish like the culture was a bit more smaller in between the folks, only because, yeah, I do like to share my love for something mainstream. But once something becomes mainstream, it ends up suffering into that muddiness. And what I mean by that muddiness is that now it's hard to find an individual bond, like a special connection with somebody. Because everybody likes it now.
Well, now because you can't tell if a person likes it because they generally are interested into it, or B, do they like it because everybody likes it?
It's standard, yeah. Yeah, it's just like, it'd be like if I said, hey, you guys, I like food. Get in line, everybody. Get in line, dude. Everybody loves food. Whereas back then it was like, I like Naruto, and then somebody'd be like, I like Naruto too, and I'm like, oh, a Naruto fan.
You don't feel like you have to question the authenticity of the person,
right?
It's such a lowbrow thing in the first place.
I look at Khan and I see everybody likes anime now, so I'm just like, well, who do I find that is going to have conversations with me that isn't just going to be about, yeah, I watched that too, and I watched this, and okay.
It's like muddy the waters a bit.
Yeah, it feels like now it's too casual. But, I mean, yeah, there's still a joy to be had with having such a wide community now. I think just, again, and it's how you take it. I'm yay for progression, but there's definitely some, like, back trials to it.
It's a trade-off.
Yeah, it is a trade-off. It is. And I was going to bring this up earlier, again, just to rebound on the woman thing, but now we're rebounding on the woman thing in a completely different light. Sorry, Emmy. There are women out there.
Sexism.
Yay, sexism. But there are women out there who I think have grown to realize this large demographic of people, and now that the anime culture has become more popular, this is another revenue that they can market off of.
I know where you're going for.
I know where you're going with this.
I see what you're doing. The fake ass e-girl who pretends that they're into it because they know
e-girl.
Because they're appealing to a demographic they now know exists.
Well, it's sliced. There's the e-girl that's faking it, and then there's the e-girl that legitimately likes it. But the problem is they're very much using it. They're using it.
They're taking advantage of it.
Yes, they know. And now that they know that they have such a large audience now, we start seeing dresses get a little bit shorter and chests being a little more exposed.
And wallets being a little more empty.
Yeah.
Or a little
because we know now that I like anime too, Uwu. Subscribe to my Patreon in order to see pictures of me cosplaying as Diana, blah, 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 blah.
But that's the trade-off. You have a healthier school environment for the younger kids, but you have a more toxic online presence because of the people taking advantage of it for money.
Yeah.
I hate when I see Pokemon trend, because there was like a point when Pikachu was trending and the first thing that popped up in the Twitter trend was like, do you want to be my Pikachu or something? And it's just some woman dressed up as that.
She's dressed up as Pikachu.
Yeah,
right.
and it's like super lewd, and it's like, why is that the first?
I can't tell you how many. I can't tell you how many.
I want someone to animate Chibi Emmy going, no.
I can't. No. Seriously though, I can't tell you how many. Whenever I go to con, I can't tell you how many women are dressed as gender bent versions of characters, cleavage revealed versions of characters that didn't really have big titties to begin with, but now they have them because the woman that cosplayed them has big titties. Lewd versions of characters, cosplays after dark. Maid cafes were never a thing until recently.
Yeah,
maid cafes are huge. I don't think you can go to a single con without running into a maid cafe now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, and it's obvious. Like Kuro said it in the comments, sex sells. So they're gonna marketalize it.
Anime already had it in there too. That's the thing.
Anime already did it. But when anime did it, it was in the confines of the screen, which I find funny because people will be like, "Oh, you're weird for liking like a chick with big old titties." I'm like, this is the same shit that happens in real life. The only difference is it's behind a screen. And nowadays, people are saying, who's going to be your waifu or husbando? I'm like, this is the very shit that people got arrested for.
Or got fucking made fun of for. Oh, you're fucking weird trying to make 2D characters your girlfriends and shit. And I want to mention this. Japan took advantage of this shoot. There was a huge uptick There was an uptick in harem and ecchi series that were coming out every couple of months. Literally around the time people started getting more into it. To the point where people were like, fuck, you've oversaturated the market with titties. Chill out. And now we're oversaturated with people dying and being transported to different worlds. So I guess we've at least changed, but I don't know if it's for the better.
Question mark?
Yeah, we're in a weird position. But like I said before, it's the trade-off. You now have a more mainstream industry, and there are people who are generally now interested and have a healthier environment to enjoy that interest. But you also have more people online that are willing to take advantage of it for no other reason than financial gain. And I guess the question then comes down to, do you think it's worth it? Do you think that it being as mainstream as it now, is it worth it in the long run? Because if I'm giving my quick, honest answer, and this will be quick, I would say overall, yeah, because the type of shit we had to deal with as kids, these kids will never deal with, which is a good thing because it caused a lot of, I would say for our group, it wasn't really that bad. But for some people, some people carry that shit on their hearts for years. And they just couldn't. Some people are strong enough to move past it, and some people just didn't deal with deep bullying. But there are people who literally got their shit rocked physically, emotionally, from all sides because of a genre of animation that they enjoyed. So having a new generation where everyone can kind of just casually get into it and it not really be that much of an issue. Do I like the fuckery that goes on with the e-girls? Do they play with my heart and emotions? Yeah, they do, fucking assholes. But I think having the younger generation having a spot to kind of indulge themselves, I think that's I can deal with some simpery if
I mean, I personally like it's a good and a bad. I mean, obviously it looks nice, but this
it looks really nice, huh?
This is me personally as I've grown up. Obviously it looks nice, but I've tried my hardest to just like not really pay that level of sexualization much attention. I make jokes about it. I do. I've been on, if you guys have seen me in the pod at all, y'all know I will say the most perverted shit that I can possibly think of. But as like a person engaged in the culture, I don't subscribe to some random chick's Patreon to pay money to watch her cosplay as shit. I don't give money to women on OnlyFans who do lewd art of and to do lewd pictures of themselves cosplaying as an anime character. I don't give in to that shit money wise because I'm smarter than that. That's not to devalue the people who do it. I'm just saying it starts with us. And unfortunately, the more we get, and this is mostly for the guys, I'm sorry, ladies. The more we give in to that.
Fans.
I'm saying, shush.
I hate that your default reaction was the laugh. Like, that's a good one.
The more I'm saying as guys, fellas, the more we give into this, the weaker we wind up being as people for it. Because now you've given the okay to somebody to basically take money from you for nothing more than just simply existing and looking pretty. And then that makes us weaker as men. It does. No matter how many ways you slice it, it does. And then they most women lose respect for men like that. Because it's like, oh, I already got his money. I don't need him to, like, I already got his money. I don't need anything else from him. I've drained him dry, literally. But not in the physical way. So it just makes us look bad as guys because it's this level of like weakness. It's this level of weakness that we got to sit here and just like people said the simp word. Don't do that because once you do that, you've already given in. Women aren't gonna respect you as much because it's like, okay, all I got to do is sell feet pics online or say that I take a random glass of water and be like, this is my bath water. Remember that era? Remember that shitty ass era?
We don't talk about that era. Okay. That was a weak time for a lot of men.
With the girls that would pretend to be anime chicks and they have the blush and glitter on their face and have the bath water, that nonsense.
You know what? I will quickly say this because I want to give Emmy and KG time to talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
The worst thing is that we've now gotten from girls who wouldn't pay those. It's kind of like what you were talking about before about how like it was all associated with kind of like the nerd demographic. We've gone from the era in which it's like, oh, I don't fuck with nerds. They're fucking weird. I go with the jocks and stuff. To now you're starting to see that loop back around where now women are like, well, you know what I just want to do? I just want to get a guy who plays video games and watches anime and we can just chill out at home and cuddle. Because remember, being weird and being a loner is now called being an introvert and being quirky. Like it's now
to be honest, like I'm gonna keep that 100 though. Like for some of the modern women, not all, the ones that are in the culture, fine, but the ones that are outside of it that say that, I don't think they mean it. I think what they mean is that it's a peaceful aesthetic. They like the aesthetic because it's peaceful. But this is only after the fact that most of these girls that are saying this now are in their late 20s and early 30s now, where they've already gone past their hot girl summer, gone out to clubs and done stuff with so on and so forth.
Well, that's what makes the guys. The thing is now you got girls appealing to those type of guys who never got attention from those women, and the question now men are like, "Fuck!" Like, is this? For one, you don't trust it. That's the first thing, and then the second thing, you're like, man.
And then the nerds are taking over. Prime example I'll give you, George Lucas and Bill Gates. Both of their wives. Beautiful women. Beautiful women. But I'd be lying if I'd say they didn't go for the fact that the money was in their hands at that point. George Lucas is a nerd amongst nerds. Dude made freaking Star Wars. And then people will go, oh, yeah, Star Wars is nerdy. You're never going to get it. This was back in the day where people would, like, in the 80s and 70s were like, oh, you like Star Wars? Yeah, you're never getting a girlfriend. You're a nerd. You're a geek. You're a weirdo. George Lucas proves that wrong, but because he's in the right context of he made something that nerds get, he got the money for it, and thus he has the resources that women like. So, ergo... He did get it. More than likely, because at that point she took advantage. Went, oh shit, I could just take half of shit. But but that's the prime example of what I'm talking about. She lost respect. That's what I'm saying. We gotta stop giving into this. But Emmy and KG, you guys can go ahead because I've been talking a lot.
I guess let me repeat. The base question was, do you think the trade-off for anime becoming more mainstream now is worth some of the detriments that came with it? The benefits being healthier environments for new anime fans and being able to be open and more free with themselves at a younger age to indulge in what they like in, versus more people taking advantage of that fandom to make money. Or some of the stuff that me and Tyrone mentioned were like the women, the e-girl thing, the thought mentality, or just fake ass people who aren't really into it. They're just bandwagoning.
Well, yes and no. Yes, because like it allows like people like just to grow up and they can like explore like who they are and just like kind of find that out like I guess at a younger age than rather at an older age, because I feel like it's a lot easier when you're younger to do that. So I would say good on that part. As to what you and Tyrone were saying about like the e-girls and stuff like that, I feel like it kind of puts all girls in a category of like trying to go after the same thing in terms of like overly sexualizing. So like you could be a girl on the internet and just like be into gaming or just be into anime, but then you get put into that same box of like, oh, you're just on here because you're trying to make money off like guys, you know, like who are just trying to buy into that when that's not the intention at all. So the intention gets lost. So I think it all goes back to the intention, but sometimes that doesn't even matter as well. I think because it's become so saturated with like, I guess like, I don't want to put like e-girls in like because I don't know much information about that. But in terms of that type of genre, I feel like it all gets grouped together. So the people who are kind of like, I guess like me in a way, who are just like kind of here just to like vibe and everything, just like chill vibes, you know, I'm not here for anything else, kind of get grouped into that, which is like, I don't want anything to be a part of that. That's not what I'm here for, kind of thing. So
I remember Cosmic said that like she would get harassed by men on a daily basis. Like they would hop into her DMs and they would they would do it. So it's trouble on both spectrums. I just know that for the guys, we as men, we need to stop being the weak ones and giving in to the sexualization of the women who take advantage of it. But for the other end of the spectrum, there's the men that need to stop pawning and hunting over the women that are actually doing this as a legitimate like hobby or interest.
Yeah. And I will say too, like for the girls out there, like in terms of like cosplaying and stuff, like, and it might be like quote unquote overly sexualized. If they're doing that for themselves because they want to feel empowered or if that's how they feel, then okay, it is what it is. But then it's also going to come with that other side too, where it's like people are going to take it the wrong way, kind of thing. So it's like it's kind of like a double-edged sword there, where it's like
the price you pay. It's the price you pay for freedom. That's the way I look at it.
I mean, and it's kind of scary too, to be honest.
You can't Emmy,
win.
And I'm gonna say, Emmy, I'm gonna be as honest as possible, and I'm sorry if this answer seems dark. We can't live in a utopian society.
Oh no, 100%.
Where if a woman is cosplaying and she wants to look sexy, that she's not gonna get hit on. You're just asking
100%.
You're just asking for the male hormones to not work at that point, and that's ridiculous. So we live in that world where it is going to happen. I think the problem is that we as men do need to carry ourselves with some leadership and dignity. But at the same time, there are women that know, and they use that. We're not going to sit here and play the other card and say, oh, well, these women are just trying, all these women are just trying to just dress because they feel good. No. We know that there's some women out there that want to show their booty cheeks because it'll give them attention. Let's not sit here and pretend that's not a thing. If it was a thing, then there's no reason a Patreon would need to even exist for those women. They wouldn't even have to have one.
Or an OnlyFans.
Oh boy.
So let's like there's definite proof that these women are doing this because they know what their demographic. Famous ex-porn star in Japanese, Shibuya Kaho, no longer does porn. She does Twitch. On average, she gets 600 viewers every day. Every day she streams. 600 or more. It's not because she's doing anything that's immaculate. She's not doing anything that's that much different than what we do. She's playing video games or doing nerd shit. But people know who Shibuya Kaho is. And Shibuya Kaho knows who Shibuya Kaho is. And those titties are going to bring in those views. She knows this. Just watch a live of hers and you'll know full well she knows what she's got and she's going to use it. Mia Khalifa is another example. Ex-porn star. Got into sports. But people know who she was. So her commentary isn't any different than sports commentators of the past. But people know who she is. So it's going to rack in what it's got. And she knows her marketplace. Now, it has a level of dark history behind it. And a dark future. Because some women find it hard to get into a solid relationship once they get into that. Because then the last thing their men want to figure out is, oh, you've been pretty much flaunting your ass the entire before half of our relationship. Nah, I'm good. But yeah, it's a risk and reward. So yeah, like you guys said, it's a double-edged sword. It's bittersweet.
Yeah. Kevin?
It's one of those situations that feels so weird to try to jump into right now, knowing after everything that's been said. And am I happy now knowing pretty much how things have turned out? Honestly, yeah, I don't mind. I mean, sure, you could see it as you do, you guys, But hey, that's life. Listen, if you know a way that you can guarantee yourself success, no matter how ridiculous it may be for some people, honestly, with that, as long as it's not harming anybody, go for it. And that's why I'm not really going to dive too deep into like how women use, because guys do this too. Let's be 100% clear. Guys do this too, but it's both sides. But let's be clear though, the most
successful with it.
And that's what I'm saying. That both sides do it. It's how they approach it that's completely different. Is the real thing.
Why? Because women will always be more attractive to watch, even to other women. Women are more attractive to watch.
Exactly.
That's just that. Yeah. So, but I get your point, Kevin.
Yeah, it's not necessarily what they do. It's more so how they approach it.
Do it.
Yeah, because like there's this one guy, he's been blowing up and all he does is act like a complete goofball. Like that whole fireworks with the Pikachu thing, that dude blew up tremendously on social media because of his actions. He did that. He knows what's right and what's wrong, but he knows what gathers the viewership. And once again, as long as you acknowledge something that doesn't come in the results of harming other individuals and is just simply just for the sake of you doing it yourself, in my opinion, go for it. I don't mind it at all. I'm happy that we live in an era where people can do these sort of things and people have more freedom to express themselves in things that we back in the day could not. Why would I feel bad to know that now things have become more open for everyone when we don't want people in the now to experience things that we've experienced in the past. Things should be more open for others, and I'm grateful that it is. And I understand that we unfortunately came with some consequences, but I'm more viewing it from the positive angle rather than trying to point out all the little flaws and intricacies that now exist thanks to having it become more mainstream, like people cosplaying in weird ways that shouldn't be done, or taking advantage of their body. But they listen, that's their body. Go for it, as long as it doesn't.
My body, my choice. Goddamn.
Exactly. So I mean, like, if I'm supposed to, like, what's the whole joke about gender equality? Fucking go for it.
Listen. If Emmy wants to wear her Pikachu onesie, god damn it, she should be allowed to wear her Pikachu onesie. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't have a Pikachu onesie. I just have a hat.
I'm actually surprised. I figured you would have one.
Again,
actually, we could order one for you. I mean,
oh, chill out.
They have them.
I'm not exactly countering here, but I will bring that up. Is like, yeah, the go for it thing. It's very nice sounding. I think the thing is, though, is that there has to be some level of awareness of what you do.
Here's my question, though.
Yes, even if it's not harming, though. I was just about to say, even if it's not harming anybody, there's a level of awareness. It's just like if somebody went out and started, it's like if your job is, for example, your job requires you to wear a certain uniform per se. Like I have a dress code at my job. I can dress in if I dress in whatever I want and go, who am I harming? Technically, no, I'm not harming anybody. But what you do still carries some level of responsibility. It's just like if you were to impersonate a police officer and dress up as a police officer and somebody goes, officer, they have guns, help us. And they go, I'm just dressed like this because it feels good. Like, yeah, but people misinterpret you now because they believe you're a police officer. You're not a police officer, but you're in a police officer's uniform, right? I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying that be aware of what you're doing when you do it.
Intentions.
Know what's going to happen. Know what happens around you. Don't play oblivious and go, I don't understand why these guys are looking at my big old titties. You know why. Stop this, okay?
Their hands hurt.
Well, okay. On that note, though, there's people can be really disrespectful in terms of that.
They can. I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying
that's the advantage of being on the internet, though. That's part of the internet experience, unfortunately.
Right.
Like when people gain the freedom of being anonymous, I'm allowed to do whatever the fuck I want to do then. Like, it's just because there's no real consequence for it. As long as I'm not doxing your address or giving people or swatting you and shit. If I'm just fucking in your comments or saying some ridiculous shit, the worst you can do is ban me off your Twitch channel. And then I'll just
even if we're talking in a real life environment, guys are gonna talk to you. I don't know what world we fully believe in where guys aren't gonna try to come up and flirt with a woman that's physically attractive. We live in a world where people believe that it's asinine for that to happen. I'm like, it's almost like he's attracted. Now, should people be harmed and harassed and assaulted and molested? Absolutely not. No one deserves that fate. I'm saying, though, is that when they're being approached, they'll talk about this like, oh, I'm cosplaying as this person. I don't understand what all these men keep doing. Yes, you do. You do, though. But you do. You do. You can't play ignorant this long. It's not going to work.
I don't know, man. There could be genuine ones where they do that.
No. You're at, again, like I said earlier with Emmy, you're at, and she got it. But you're asking for the male hormones to just shut down. You're essentially asking for every man to be like, I have no feelings for women or their bodies whatsoever, period. And I'm like,
but is that their fault, though? I mean, even if they're not dressed up as it, their body is still going to still be there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just the way you say, it's just the way you talk to people. I think that's what KG and I are trying to say.
Because your boobs aren't going to suddenly increase the moment you wear this cosplay. It's not going to just suddenly get gargantuan anime size.
Why not? Is my question.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, you want a TG? Okay.
Absolutely not. Men have to carry themselves with a level. Well, see what the problem is. Men have to carry themselves with a level of couth. I'm not saying that we have to get rid of that. We need charisma and chivalry. Those are things that separate the gentleman from the scrubs.
But give me the loot though.
But my point being is that these women will literally do these things and act completely oblivious to the idea of what these things do. Like, these women will sit up here and cosplay as a woman with big titties or big asses, then get confused that they're getting hit on by men, as if one thing doesn't lead to the other. So are men supposed to just sit up here and be blindfolded for the rest of our lives, pretending that we can't see?
But I want to be 100% real with you, Tyrone.
What?
We know there is a humanity imbalance in this world. Like, there is not an equal amount of men and women.
Oh, absolutely not. Women outnumber men 4-1. That is the statistic.
And the reality is there is a high chance there's a good amount of men, and especially women, just because of the disproportionate size. Literally, even if every man got with a woman, women
if
still.
If every man got with a woman, there would still be single women. Yes,
there would still be single women, but we know not every man's getting with a woman anyway.
Exactly.
Some dudes have just have accepted their station in life and just choose to enjoy themselves in the way that they enjoy themselves. So those women will always have that audience, and I guess it kind of leads into more of KG's thing.
Like, I get it, and the logic is sound. Why go for one permanent boyfriend when you could have the admiration and attention of thousands of men, right?
Yeah, but I guess the reality is, as long as both parties are happy in that situation, I guess what's really the problem at that point?
If the problem I see is that it really.
I'm not saying it's not a problem in general. I'm just saying if that's what they want to do and they're not really bothering anybody else, let them have it. I guess is what I'm saying.
I think the problem is that at this point the men are losing their chances to actually be with legitimate. Actually, and this ties back to our conversation from originally. I actually see, like, when I see a nerd couple, I think that shit's cool as hell, though, sometimes. When I walk in and I'll, like, look and I'll see, like, these two will have, like, a bunch of magic cards or some Magic the Gathering cards. And they'll have their arms crossed or they'll go to a con together and they'll, like, have each other's food or whatever. I'll be like, that's nice. That's nice. That's a nice budding family. What this does, unfortunately, is that it separates that, and you don't get those communities and families because these men have accepted their position, and rather than start something with someone, they're going to give money to some virtual chick that they'll never get the chance to physically see.
Isn't that VTubers then?
Yeah, you've sacrificed. Well,
some VTubers can be e-girls too.
Yeah, you've sacrificed the potential of being in a family or having someone that you can potentially be compatible with for nothing more than temporary virtual satisfaction.
But doesn't that here's the thing. That just seems like a you problem more than the dumb problem at that point, because you're supposed to.
Men are doing it all over. That's the problem, KG.
I don't see it that way.
Yes,
though.
No. What? No, what? Look at the donations that women get on Twitch. Look at the fucking look at Patreon. Look at the loot. Like, what?
Yeah,
you see it every day. Like,
I think what it really comes down to is that, Tyrone, you want the best.
You want to be in that position.
You want not even that you want to be in the position, but it's more of like you see people losing out on their potential and the ability to be truly happy and trading it for like a temporary happiness.
Yeah, for me, I don't do that. Go ahead.
Well, no, I understand that. And so your issue, it kind of boils down to more of like, bro, you have the opportunity to talk to this fine woman over here, but you're like weirdly
too busy,
But you're too busy fucking with this e-girl. But I guess that my thing is this: at the center of the time, it like if they're both, I recognize it's a waste of potential. But let's be real here: most people aren't gonna ever reach their quote unquote full potential in their lives. I think.
But most people don't even try. That's the problem.
I know. I understand your point, but at the end of the day, if they're both happy, yeah,
it's their choice. It's like, listen, man, I understand. Yeah. I can clearly understand where you're going with. that ain't me though. That's all. I mean, let them do what they want to do. Why should I care about the actions that they take? They're doing it themselves. I'm just going to do my own thing. And if I happen to be on that same boat, that's on me. I don't have to worry or care about the actions that other individuals are doing, because once again, no harm is necessarily coming from it. And hey, who knows?
No. So hold on. No immediate harm is happening, but harm happens. There's consequences. There is no such thing as a free lunch here. I have heard stories from women who have done similar things to this, because let's keep it 100. It's like when women do these things, it's low-key gonna leave a digital footprint, right? And as they get older, there's gonna be times where they're gonna see, like, kids are gonna see their, like, grandmothers at these things dressed up a certain way or acting a certain way, and they'll be like, oh, this was you, grandma? And they'll be like, like, a digital footprint stays. It takes forever to wipe out. It's not something that can just sort of vanish.
That just sounds like anime stuff that we were talking about before, except back then there was no cameras for that stuff.
Right. And then, like, if we're moving on to the sexualization of it, though, when we get to that point, like the lewd cosplayers and stuff like that, and the cleavage out, all of that shit, that carries over. It doesn't, like, it gets worse as time passes because of several things. One, an audience decreases. Statistically, that's been shown. An audience decreases, so they don't even get the same recognition that they got before. Two, it just leads to some bad patterns of loneliness, because all that validation they were getting before starts going down, and reality and the wall starts hitting. And this for women. For men, what happens is they've given up so much of this, like their resource, their money for this, that they're no longer able to do the shit that they could have done if they had saved that money and had that resource. They're still living this mediocre lifestyle because they gave up their money that they could have had to progress. Money they could have used to invest. That's why I said that.
My solution is you need to seek a counselor at that point. Because once again, I'm sorry. Listen, I can understand what you're saying. But, like, I cannot, in full conscience, come to an agreement.
Money and time. Thank you, Kuro. Time too. Kuro said it too. Time.
Yeah, but like, time, you don't know. Like, for all you know, these people are just necessarily living the now. Because the biggest thing everyone can always say is this:
the now always comes back. Like, it always.
But you don't know if you're gonna still stay. That's the thing. That's why people always say, live your life to the fullest, because you'll never know if there'll ever be a tomorrow.
Some people don't have the aspirations that others do to, like, to kind of live past their means. Some people just want to be. Some of you remember, like, just put this in context. We're talking about anime specifically, right?
Yes.
Right.
But, like, if you take this in a life situation, some people have had truly rough and terrible lives with very shitty things that have consistently happened to them at a young age. Some people don't give a fuck about the future. They just they went so long not being happy. They just want to be fucking happy. They just want to be in a moment where they can enjoy themselves and it not be ruined by something else. That's why what do you think VTubers and e-girls have skyrocketed, even though in some contexts the half of the reason why you're there is just for a bunch of fan service, when you could easily go watch porn and get the same experience but more and free. So for some people, it's not about the bigger picture. Some people, it's just about the moment.
Yeah,
I just want the moment. I don't give a fuck about the future. I don't give a fuck about men in 20 years, and I don't give a fuck about me in 20 years. I just want to, in this moment, be happy. Now, is that inherently a good thing or healthy? Not necessarily. But what the point is this: I don't give a fuck.
Here's my answer to that. You know, if I had to say, yeah, I want to live in the now, and what's going to happen in the future, well, that's just going to be something that future me will have to figure out when that time comes. But for now, allow me to be. But hey, I'll let the
me from 5 seconds from now figure it out.
Well, I've been under the philosophy that you in the now, work for the best future, so your future's the best now every time. That's why in that future, once you get there, you don't have to worry about that shit anymore. It's done and over with. You've achieved the things that you need to, but it only starts now. It starts with us. It starts with us getting better. Sitting here saying, "Oh, these people have just accepted." I mean, yeah, I get it,
but
and we can't. Not everybody's gonna be able to do it, but it starts with you at least trying. That would be like saying, fuck it, I'm not worried about transportation. Let's just stick with horse and buggy. Who cares about the future? Well, then we wouldn't have cars.
But yeah, but like the horse and things
progress happens is that we starts with us. We control our fate, so we need to get up and work towards it. Not sit up and I mean, I get it. I get, like, you don't have to be always like trying to prepare. There's a such thing as overexerting yourself and focusing too hard on the future. That comes with a level of anxiety. But to sit and like nonchalantly just go, it is what it is, that the problem with that becomes that now you've put no effort into it. Now you're in the reverse section. I mean, and it's a preference. I'm not going to sit up here and say this is for everybody. I'm just saying from my perspective, based on what I've seen, especially with the culture that we see nowadays and how it's being like sexualized, there's some level that starts with us where we as guys especially need to take some level of responsibility and know that, hey, instead of giving into this, we can still like these things, but grow as well. Instead of, oh, let me go ahead and give all this money to a Patreon to the first cosplayer I see because I like the way she looked. Only to find out that she winds up with a boyfriend. And then what? You get depressed over a chick that wasn't yours in the first place?
I don't know, man. It's an interesting topic. It really is.
JJ, your philosophy is sound. Your philosophy is enjoy it while it lasts. Yeah, enjoy it while it lasts.
I got a question to add, Tyrone. So you stated just now, like, to live your life so that way your future is set because you made it that way, right? That was
right. Absolutely.
But here's the thing. That's through your lens as well, correct? What if some other person, let's say that female individual, is doing that exact same thing through their lens? I mean, what if they have that same philosophy as you and they know that and they still go with it because they acknowledge that mentality that you stated, Tyrone?
Right.
Like, what then? Like, is it wrong still? Like, it's not
necessarily wrong. I said this from the perspective of what I think men should be doing. I don't speak for what men like I say this, so all men should be doing this. No. But I'm saying, like, the ideal standpoint for a guy, for us as guys, is that we can't keep giving into this because if we keep buying, they'll keep selling. And the problem with that logic becomes, well, the more guys that do that, the less we'll see of these families that we talked about earlier that grow, that get to be together and be with each other and grow together because, there's no families because guys are thinking, even nowadays, I'm starting to see it. Less people want kids because they're like, why do that when I can just live off this forever? And I'm like, the problem with that goes, well, whoops. Now we don't have any families that can enjoy these things that we talked about earlier.
Wait a minute, Taro, you don't want kids though.
Right. I'm saying with the community and how it's choosing to handle this particular situation.
Oh, okay.
It's like these are guys who sit up here and say they want girlfriends and they want wives, but then they'll end up giving this money up to see these virtual girls, and then they go, "Oh, I can't find a girl." Yes, you can. You're just giving up your money to some girl that you don't even know that's across seas.
I said, I just think at that point you leave that to the individuals who are doing that. How can I specifically do anything to reflect on that? I can look at it, I can see it, but I'm just gonna do my own shit. Cause what the hell am I supposed to do on that? Like, listen, the individuals themselves.
Be the change you want to make, man.
They made the choice. They knew they're adults. At the end of the day, they are adults. So any choice they make, that's on them. No matter how weird it may seem from another eye's perspective or whatnot, that decision they make is gonna always be on them. And I can, now just simply see it as is. And listen, I 100%
I think the problem here, it is their choice, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, KG. It is their choice, and we live in a world where we have that level of freedom and choice. I think the thing is, though, is that these are the same guys who want more. These are the same guys I look around and they see they want more. They want to have that waifu. They want to have that, and I'm like, you have all the tools you need. You gotta do it in the right direction. Emmy said it earlier, the way some of these guys approach it is anywhere between overly horny, obsessed, simpish, or scrummy. Scummy, thank you. Sorry, I'm mixing my words up.
It's fine.
Scummy.
Outside is scummy.
Just very terrible. If it's not you being a pervert with no charisma whatsoever or charm, then it's you simping and being very, weak about it. There's no in-between there's no person that carries themselves with a level of dignity and can get... Terrell said it himself all the time where he makes the joke of me. Man, Tyrone, I don't understand how you get all these women. I get all these women. Mostly because I don't sit up there and shamelessly just flirt with every fucking woman that I see. And they see that and go, oh, he's not doing the same shit everybody else is doing. And that's just from experience. And like I said, KG, you're absolutely right. We have that freedom to do it. I'm just saying, I feel bad when I see these guys here complain about what they don't got. When they got it right in front of them, they're just not utilizing it.
Yeah, all I can do just that, Tyrone. Just simply watch. But just
that's it. I mean, that's all we really can do. So honestly, yeah.
But hey,
it's just watch.
Here's the real important thing: you can watch, but you can adapt and learn to do better yourself. That's the only important thing.
And that's what I said earlier is that it starts with us. It starts with us wanting.
That's why this whole debate's been going on. Yeah. It's because of that. And once again, we have to acknowledge, these are choices that these adults make. And let them do what they want to do. I'm not going to say they did the wrong choice. I'm just going to simply say, you do you. As long as it don't affect me, that's fine. Let's move on with it, But hey,
I agree with that.
There's nothing more we can do other than simply watch and witness.
I agree with that.
But yeah,
I agree with that. And just to draw it back to the main conversation at hand was. This started because of the debacle that came with liking anime. Is that the whole process was this, and now we've shifted so much from girls will never like guys that like anime to girls will use anime as a selling point to get guys that like them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but to be fair, some women do actually like guys who like anime.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. We're not gonna sit up there and just generalize it in one spot. It's just I've noticed the shift and how it's been handled for most guys, and again, it still falls into what I said with these guys that are simping over these girls who do like anime, who legitimately like anime as a hobby and aren't trying to use it as a way to market themselves. Some of these women just like anime, but the problem is these men are coming at them like the same way they come at every other woman. And the problem with that is that they're overly obsessed.
Right.
And the over obsession is what's causing the fall. When women that are not sexualizing themselves are turned off by men who like anime because they're coming on too strong. Women who are sexualizing themselves aren't turned on by men because they can just get their money and leave. Both sides, the men lose. We lose no matter which route we go. So the only other way is to just carry yourself with a level of dignity and respect people. But the world is so fast with how we handle things now, it's hard to really see a genuine connection with that. Now, KG's brought up a good point. I see the positives of the world we live in. It's cool to like go outside and just see these people rocking like anime poses and hoodies and jackets and collecting figurines. And you go to somebody's house and you see like a poster and they're like, wow, I love that show. That's a great feeling. Hell, Pokemon, if we want to round it back to that, when people were universally playing Pokemon Go,
get away from fucking Pokemon.
I know. When universally,
Pokepod, everyone.
No, not again, no.
When
Terrell,
everybody
you're
was
here
playing,
forever.
right, when everybody was playing Pokemon Go, we all stated it. That was the closest I think we ever got to world peace. It's good to see
world peace and a broken body part too.
One Piece is real.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see those things. I just know that there is also a level of dark that comes with it. Lord. I think Terrell wanted to bring up to the forefront was you take the good and the bad, but you can't erase the fact that there is some bad to that.
Yeah, that's just life, though.
Yeah, it's a try. But we have hit overtime, so we're gonna.
Yeah, well, this has been a regular pod session.
Yeah, pretty much. It's been almost a little bit over 2.5 hours. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I think at some point we derailed a little bit, but I hope, if anything, you got some educational stuff out of it because it was still good information.
I do like that despite the railing, it still sort of stayed in course, per se, to the main topic at hand, which of course was about gatekeeping and gaslighting. Because at the end of the day, that's just how things have been.
Thank you for following Super Saiyan.
It's just much more prevalent and more out there now, given that just like back then, technology was something of a myth back then. And now as life progressed forward, technology has gotten to this point, like how we joked about nobody had cameras back in the day. Now everyone has a camera in their pockets, you know?
Yeah.
And this allows and opens up more doors, but it also opens up more positive doors and also opens up more negative doors. That's just the consequence of life. No matter how far you progress, no matter what kind of advancements you make in life, every choice and decision you make will always have some sort of repercussion that you will not see right away, but will definitely be there when that time comes. And that's just how things are. So rather than focusing on what the consequences will bring, just live the now. Live your now. Live the now that you want to live. And whatever happens in the future, acknowledge the decisions you made getting to that point and try your best to push on through. That's just the best message I can say for that. So yeah. I don't know. That's all I have to say.
No, I agree with that.
So with all that being said, tomorrow I believe, KG, you have your episode reaction, right?
Yeah, quote unquote episode reaction.
Yeah, quote unquote episode reaction.
Although I've been hearing, so just a heads up, there have been speculation that either this week or the next week there is going to be a big announcement that's going to be coming in ties to the Generation 9 anime series, given that we're starting to slowly approach that. So supposedly that the next episode, this Friday, tomorrow, is going to have a preview for the next Generation anime. And by preview, we don't necessarily know what that means. That could be like the very first trailer that we got for Pokemon Journeys, where it's just literally just copy images of the characters and that's it. Or it could be a full-fledged trailer. At this point, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So just giving you all a heads up, things might change. Things might be big tomorrow. Things might be small. I don't know what's going to happen. Just make sure y'all don't say anything that could potentially reveal that to any of us. So yeah, no spoilers. So yeah.
And then I think TSS is doing Tales tomorrow night too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's doing Tales of Vesperia.
And then I think Saturday, Tyrone, you have Roundtable, right, or no?
Yes.
So Tyrone's in Roundtable. I think TSS is streaming on Saturday. No, he's not. He's not because he's going to go deliver something. So
yeah, Tyrone will be streaming on Saturday as well. We're going to be playing Unite at around 4 p.m. EST. So yeah.
Okay, so you got Roundtable, Pokemon Unite, and then you have Xenoblade at night with me.
Which Xeno?
The first one, damn it.
Fuck. No.
God, listen.
You are in the point.
Whoa!
You are in the point of where I want to see you play this game, bro.
Listen. I will. Here's my agreement. Once I finish one, we will finish. I won't.
That's gonna take forever.
All right, guys. You know where I'm adding one. I'm past halfway. I think we're good.
Not a 3.
Yeah, you're 51% out of the 100%. Sure, you technically are halfway done, but you're like 51%. But okay, that's another data.
The point I'm making
49% less than you need.
The point is, one must be finished before we finish 3. So I took a break from 3 to finish 1. Okay, I played way more 3 than I probably should have realistically. But that's besides the fucking point. So the point is, Friday is TSS and Kevin. Saturday is Tyrone, Kevin, and me. And Sunday is Tyrone, the GIF 3, the God 3.
Yes.
And then Monday we do it all over again. We reset it.
Yeah.
So with that being said, thank you for watching. Appreciate the love and support, guys. Next week will probably be the Diamond and Pearl stuff. So if you wanted the Diamond and Pearl stuff, that'll be next week probably, because unless something else comes up. But I think we should be good as far as that's concerned. I think that's it, right? I don't think there's anything else.
Nothing
and Donnie's
that I know of at the moment, anyway.
And Donnie already posted the links to everyone else's Twitches, like Tyrone and KG, so we should be Gucci. So with all that being said, life's a game, play to win, and we will catch you guys later. Peace off. Fuck,
Okay,
were we gonna rate anyone? I don't think
I don't know. I don't think there's anyone.
I like Eminem.
Okay, Tyrone is currently streaming. I'll rate him. Hold on.
Rate Tyrone real quick. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Now that they're done, I gotta still talk about this. I'm just kidding.
Oh my lord!
Get your ass in there. Bye.
Bye.
Trying to choke this shit out of me.
All right, I'm done streaming.